The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Scott Norton, and you're listening to Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ASA podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review Night 1 of G1 Climax 36 and cover all its news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts and newsletter over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping a Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Young boy, how you doing, man?
So well, so glad to be back on the show. I just I hit something. Whatever I just did it interact with what you were recording in any way?
Well, it messed with my visual. I saw something change on the screen. I was like, what in the world?
I was trying to maximize the screen, and then I hit something that only maximized just me, and then I couldn't hear you, and then it was just me alone, like solo on the show, which is how it probably should be, but no, yeah, I'm so pleased to be back here. Obviously, I've been very busy. There's been a lot that's been going on here, not only with the show, but with New Japan. We had Chris Charlton on a couple weeks ago. Wasn't able to be there for that, that was a big interview that I wanted to take part of, and I was pretty disappointed to miss out on that. Then obviously, previewing G1 Climax, that's like one of the biggest episodes we have of the year.
Yep.
And I missed that. And then we were invited on to Voices of Wrestling to record audio with Rich Craich, which I wasn't able to do that. So
Sideline.
I kind of pulled the hat trick there, but so thankful not only to yourself for, holding down the fort. If anyone that's listening, if you're not sure why I've missed out on so much, it mainly has to do with the fact that I am still in the midst of a house move, which I don't know how people do that.
Dude, you got to hire movers.
No. It's not just the moving. It's the transitioning into a home. You know what I mean?
Getting everything kind of set.
So much that has to be done once you. Right, exactly. There's just a lot you have to do to get into a position where it's livable, And then we had a bunch of furniture that was inherited up in New York that I had to drive down. So we had movers, but I drove the truck from New York to Florida, which was a harrowing journey, to say the least. So it's been very busy. And then, basically as soon as I came home, and then not to mention neither here nor there, Kenny Omega just, won the AEW title here locally in Clearwater, Florida, and yourself, Rich Latta, Dan Coffin, you guys were all there and prominently featured on the show.
Yeah.
And I wasn't able to really. I could have done all these things. It's just there's so much stuff that needs to be done. I didn't feel right attending to these things and then not having shit in my house that, is needed, sort of thing. So I appreciate everything that you've done. I appreciate Samsa, who I was just with this past weekend. I was in Chicago, and he came on the show 2 weeks in a row. And the funny thing with that is one point there's a lot of he had the barbecue in Chicago, tons of people from all over, like the wrestling and New Japan community that were there. I met a lot of them. I'm not going to remember everybody's names or faces, and I didn't even get to meet everybody because there were so many people that were there. But at one point, someone is talking to Chris, and I think they were telling him that they were listening to our show probably because he was on it, and they were listening to it as like a primer to get ready. But I heard them say, like, I was listening to Keepin' It Strong Style, like my ears perked up, and I was like, oh, it's my show. And then and Chris is like, not anymore, bro. I've been on there for 2 weeks. This is my show now. I was like, you know what? That's true. It's Chris's show.
Yeah, shout out to Samsa. Glad to have him on and for the preview last week, and then 2 weeks ago talking about the some of the playing stuff and joining me to interview Chris Charlton. So yeah, shout out to Chris, and I'm glad that a lot of people show up to the barbecue and people entering into his G1 Pick'em contest. Almost 600 people entered that, so yeah, good stuff.
I didn't do it. Which, by the way, before we move on, so I listened to the audio with you and Rich, almost an hour of G1 Climax preview, and I thought it was really fantastic. And we've recorded with Rich on our show many years ago.
Yeah,
but this was the first time that I think almost anybody from Social Suplex has ever been invited to do flagship over on VOW. So I was like, damn, I love that show. I'd really like to go do that. And then the timing just didn't work out. But I listened to the audio, and the kind of questions that he was asking you that you had prepped, I was like, oh, it would have been way worse if I had been on this show.
Well, he didn't give me any of the questions ahead of time. I was like all off the dome, like all the questions he was asking.
Bro, what it would have been is like your insightful, like, all right, here's the blocks that I've come up with. Here's the scenarios. Here's what I'm thinking. And here's why not. Me, I would have been like, yeah, bro, I don't know. I've been so busy. I haven't even really. Who's in which block, by the way? Like at this point, what are we looking at here? Like it would be me retorting with questions because I don't know what the fuck is going on with the G1. So it was probably fortuitous that I was not on that audio, but I thought you did a fantastic job. And if anybody is listening and was unaware that you were on this past week's episode, I definitely, not just because you're, my co-host, but I thought it was a really good like preview episode, not just of the first night of the G1, but the G1 as a whole. And I think, like, for instance, you and Chris did a really good job earlier, but as we got closer and some of the cards became a little more available,
yeah,
like you were kind of operating with more updated information at that point.
Right. Yeah. Because normally, like, our G1 preview episode would normally be like this week, but because of the US show,
right,
things got bumped up. So yeah, some of the data that's usually more available wasn't out when Chris and I did it. But then yeah, card orders started getting announced, and yeah, I had finished my bracket, so yeah, I had a lot more you had to work with on the flagship.
I also, not gonna pull back the curtain too much, but last week I was listening to the show, and there was a special breaking audio. You mentioned that we'd be having some interviews with New Japan talent, and I think it's a good time for us to just mention that shit ain't happening.
Yeah. Hey, I reached out. People reach out to us. I reached back out, heard nothing until literally like Friday, and like Jen was at work. I had Jones all by myself. She wasn't coming home.
They did get back to you Friday?
Yeah, one of the, like, it wasn't Justin, but like one of the other guys like emailed back and was like, bumping this up. Love to. I think it was like Thursday evening. Like
that was Thursday evening.
Yeah. And so then I was like, I couldn't do anything Friday. So
yeah, and obviously, like, they knew I was gonna be in town, which I was. but it was sort of like, how am I supposed to accommodate you guys? Like, to let you know what my schedule is like on the very last minute. It's like, I don't know who you have for me. I don't know what part of Chicago you're wanting me to travel to. I don't know what times we're working with. Like, it's just like, bro, you're reaching out to me. Give me some. Like, at that point, I already had like a full itinerary planned out. Plus, I didn't follow up with that because I was like, bro, it's been days and days and days. And
right, because we hopped on that. Like, as soon as they reached out, I'm like, yeah, here, because I'm on the second half of my paternity leave. So it's like, right now, this week was like pretty open. Except that Friday, I was like, yeah, I could possibly, fit some stuff in during the day or whatever. And yeah, nothing.
Then, it's not the worst thing in the world. I do think, and I mean this wholeheartedly. I know oftentimes podcasters, they want to put themselves over, whatever. I know that interviewing talent isn't really our thing that we're known for, but every single time we've ever had an interview, I always go back and listen to it, or in the fallout of it, I'm always like, man, that was like good audio. I do think that that is something that we just happen to excel at, even with like no preparation, like no prior, like, I know that you've got media training, but like I never like did interviews, and I was like, oh, we pretty good at those. But all the same, it's not what people tune in to listen to. It's like a little cherry on top, but it's not like something that makes or breaks what we have going on here. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So it's just one of those things. I'm going to chalk this up to, and just to put it back out there, we were reached out to, do you guys want to do interviews? We said yes. Didn't hear anything back. I'm going to chalk it up to, I think that with the transition, with new ownership, probably, is making it a little more difficult for, communications and operations and things like that. It seemed like to me there was, because you mentioned to me that there was an interview with Cal Newman.
Yeah, he was on Self-Made.
Okay. Oh, Self-Made. Those are the that's like Ibu and those guys, right?
Yeah.
Bro, the other day I was thinking of a whole nother group that's Self-Made. But yeah, it's like they had an interview, and I heard from a few other people that something similar happened, where it's like PR was reaching out, making a last minute, sort of thing. And I don't know. I didn't see a lot of we didn't get an interview, and I didn't see a lot of other interviews happen.
Yeah, I think that was the only one I saw. So,
but the funny thing is, last time they did G1 and like MSG, it wasn't like publications like or we're not even a publication, but it was like Justin Barrasso with Sports Illustrated and and like ESPN and like all these like major. And this time they're like, all right, so Kiss, what you guys got for us?
Yeah. All right. Well, we got a lot to jump into this week. So first, we got to quickly go over the Tiger Mask retirement show. I'm just going to focus on the closing of the Tiger Man matches, because everything else was just kind of random multi-man tags that really had no consequence on G1 or really anything. So this was last Tuesday, July 7th from Cork and Hall, reported attendance of 1,490. So when we got to the Tiger Mask portion, first we had Tiger Mask versus Dynamite Kid, and they wrestled to a 5-minute time limit draw. And after that, as Tiger Mask was trying to recover, Black Tiger, who was Rocky Romero on the Black Tiger gimmick, came out, attacked Tiger Mask, and they wrestled to a 5-minute time limit draw. But it seemed like Black Tiger possibly would have beaten Tiger Mask if the time didn't expire. But so Black Tiger asked for 5 more minutes. Bell rang. Tiger suplex. 1, 2, 3. Tiger Mask gets the big win. So Josh, what were your thoughts on this little closing stretch here for Tiger Mask?
I mean, they basically just had 2 5-minute sort of quasi exhibitionist sort of style matches, which is fitting. We've seen guys do a version, like the most famous one I think of is Ricky Choshu's series of matches during his quote unquote retirement. I think that's in '98. The final Power Hall in Tokyo Dome, and he wrestled 4 5-minute style matches, and a lot of other wrestlers before and since then have done a similar format, where they wrestle a series. This was just the two. Obviously, Dynamite Kid, it's not Tom Billington, it's
Tommy.
Okay. So, and that's his nephew, right?
Yes. Yeah. The nephew of the original Dynamite Kid.
So, I mean, it's not Sayama and the original Dynamite Kid, but these are like, they have connections and they carry the same gimmicks. So, I mean, there's, some crossover appeal there. And there's been a lot of, especially like, again, the aforementioned VOW, the flagship guys over there, Joe and Rich, they were pushing heavy for some point before he retired for Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask 4 to wrestle. And it was supposed to happen in the States and it, fell apart. I think that was the Jersey J Cup. Yeah. So it was cool that they were able to do this. And, this is one of those things we've talked about where it's like with Tony Khan, there's a whole laundry list of cool, unique, interesting talent that exists on his roster that could be brought over and maybe wouldn't make like the biggest business sense in the world, but would kind of freshen things up and maybe do cool, unique, and interesting things. Like a guy like Tommy Billington, I think he could easily work like a Super Juniors, and that's probably not a name that we've thought about before, Yeah,
and I don't even know what his contract status is. Like, I don't know if he's signed full time. He's made some random Collision appearances. I don't think he's been on Dynamite yet, and so I don't know if he's fully signed, partly signed, what his deal is.
He works ROH a lot, right? Sometimes.
It's been a while since he's been on AEW/ROH TV.
See, I had been assuming just based on, and again, I'm not the biggest, the most knowledgeable watcher of AEW, but I was under the impression that he was signed like to one of the ROH style deals or whatever. So, I think the kind of poetic thing here though is that in all the years that Dynamite Kid wrestled any iteration, not just Sayama, but also the matches with Mizawa in All Japan, Dynamite Kid was never able to successfully defeat definitively any version of Tiger Mask. The one defeat that he ever did have was like a disqualification via ring out, where in the old days, if you went over the guardrail in a New Japan match, that was an automatic, like, you've lost the match. It was like a DQ. And that's what happened. Like, Sayama went flying into the crowd and he lost, but nobody considered that like a real actual loss. So, Tommy Billington and him going to the draw here, it's like, he didn't put over the kid, but the kid didn't put him over. But again, there's the poetic beauty of like, he's never going to beat Tiger Mask, even though it's not even the real guy. Like the gimmicks, it still the trend continues.
Yeah, and if you go by the last man standing, Tommy Billington had just hit a missile drop kick, snap suplex, got a near fall, and then the time ran out. So he was kind of on top at the end of the 5 minutes, even though it was a draw. So you can kind of say he put him over a little bit. But yeah, so the 5-minute draw there, Dynamite Kid still does not beat a Tiger Mask. And then, then we get the Black Tiger portion of that with Rocky, which I thought was pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's part of the like more dark ages of New Japan. A lot of people, they understand and know that Rocky Romero was a Black Tiger, but I don't think they really comprehend, like modern fans who didn't live it, they don't comprehend the importance at the time within the junior division of his role as Black Tiger. Like there've been a plethora of Tiger Masks and Black Tigers, and there's been a lot of guys that have worked under the gimmick for a long time, but there's really only a few that you could really refer to as like, these guys are major Black Tiger, participants or practitioners who had a lot of success. And, Rocky Romero was not only IWGP junior heavyweight champion as Black Tiger, which by the way, he's never held that title under his own moniker, only under the gimmick.
Right.
But he also held the NWA junior heavyweight title as well. And simultaneously, actually, and those guys were battling for those two belts in Tokyo Dome and in other major venues across Japan. Like that was probably the most high profile, like the single most high profile feud of Tiger Mask's entire career. So yeah, again, it is kind of like the memorberries. It's like hearkening back to Rollerball Rocco and Eddie Guerrero and everything like that. So they're kind of stealing, even back then in like 05, 06, they're stealing from history a little bit. But it was a fitting tribute in the fact that this is the biggest program of this guy's entire career. And now he's closing out with, I wouldn't say his most prolific rival, but the guy that he probably made the most money with and was on the biggest stage with,
Yeah, and then just with the whole Tiger Mask lore, obviously Black Tiger is, the legendary
ultimate enemy,
right? Yeah, the ultimate villain rival for the Tiger Mask character in general, and in any version of media of Tiger Mask. So it was very fitting to have a Black Tiger Mask. Whether they had brought in what's his face from CMLL.
I kind of thought they would bring in Magnus.
Yeah, Magnus, because they were kind of building it up during the Fantastic Mania tour. But also, I think it makes a ton of sense for it to do Black Tiger, the Rocky version. But yeah. So good stuff here, and Tiger Mask ends up getting the win, beating him one last time, getting to celebrate. All the factions came out, gave flowers, except House of Torture. So it was Unbound Company, TMDK, and the Hantai roster, and then you had a bunch of special guests. They were musicians and baseball players. There was a K1 star, Takeru, and then you had great Sasuke, Jinsei Shinsaki.
Takeru actually is he's a Tiger Mask.
Okay, is that a Tiger Mask 5?
I don't know. I've lost. There's like 7.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know which one he is.
Yeah.
But like he's technically, even though he's not even a pro wrestler, he's technically
in the lineage. Yeah.
No, because 5 is Manoa Man.
That's right. That's right.
Wrestle.
Yeah.
So he's either 6 or 7.
Yeah.
6, 7. Which I guess kids don't say anymore.
No. Yeah. That gimmick's done.
Not with me.
And then Great Sasuke, Jinsei Sasaki, Jushin Thunder Liger, and Tatsumi Fujinami all came out and gave him his flowers. And then last but not least, the original Tiger Mask, Satoru Sayama, came out and asked for one more lockup. So they did one more big lockup there between him and Tiger Mask 4. And then Tiger Mask addressed the Korakuen crowd and thanked his fans and family and everybody who supported him on the journey. They gave that man the 10-bell salute, and that was supposed to be it. That was supposed to be the end of the legendary career of Tiger Mask.
And it was. And the thing, we see this all the time. I remember back in the day in like 2000 where Mick Foley cut this impassioned promo before No Way Out 2001. Or no, it was 2000, where he talks about how there's been all these legends of the past who come and go and come and go. And he's like, but I'm not going to do that in this business. And of course he didn't live up to his word. He was back within a few months, but basically said like, he's not going to bastardize the business that brought him love and joy and all that sort of stuff. And, or he said he's not going to prostitute it. And, even a guy like Foley, who is so stand up, he was back very, very quickly. And that's the thing about a guy like Tiger Mask is he's a man of his word. When he says he's done, he's done. And we don't have to worry about a veteran like him coming back, stinking up the joint, pulling a Ric Flair, flopping on the mat, or doing the Liger thing and working some cheap, indie show for just a handout and a payday, just kind of riding off of his name. Like, this is a man who has integrity. And Yamazaki, Tiger Mask 4, he's done. He'll still be around like in a mentor role, but he's never lacing up the boots. He's never putting on the cape again. He's never strapping up the mask. And you can take that to the bank. All right. So I salute this man.
Well, Josh, got news for you. Produced by Orange Crush, Tiger Mask 4 and Dynamite Kid take on Black Tiger 4 and Black Tiger 9.
What the fuck? Wait, which Tiger Mask, though?
Tiger Mask 4.
God damn it. You got to be but this is not happening for a long time, right?
This is August 3rd.
Oh my God. He's coming back faster than Foley. This is
there are people saying that apparently he said somewhere in media that he did have some out of Japan dates already lined up before.
You retired, son. That's it. You don't get to come work for Rocky's produce show with Orange Crush, after Sayama gave you the lockup, brother. He gave you the Iggy. Like, what the fuck are you doing, dude?
Dude, they threw that man up like, the hip hip parade kind of thing to that man, the 10 bell salute. People are crying, saying goodbye to this man. He said, not so fast.
Listen, I thought it was a fitting tribute. I thought it was cool to see all the Michinoku and just so in case anyone's wondering, I obviously knew that Tiger Mask was coming back out of retirement very quickly. But we got to do the bits. I thought it was cool to see all the Michinoku Pro guys from yesteryears come back, and because that's really like where his heyday was in the 90s and like where he started and everything. But if you noticed, not the biggest cork in Hall crowd.
Yeah,
for a retiring legend. And it wasn't like this was littered with a lot of contemporary guys that are from his generation that you would expect to be out there supporting this legendary junior, and the rumors are Tiger Mask is an asshole.
Yeah,
he's not necessarily like beloved.
Grumpy Tiger Mask is a shoot.
So like most of the people that were there because they have literal connections to him in the business and the industry and in personal life. But if you start thinking about all the names that could have been on this show that maybe should have been there, just to kind of add some support, they weren't.
So that supposedly is the end of Tiger Mask in Japan. Obviously, this Orange Crush show coming up in August, and then sounds like there might be a couple more international things he does, and then supposedly he'll be done after that.
But in 3 years, when he's still working shows in Spain and Germany and going down to Tijuana and shit, he's gonna be like, I told you guys I was signed for just a few more international dates. Yes, I'm gonna work WrestleCon. It's okay.
Yes, I'm facing Joey Janela. Leave me alone.
He's gonna work for like Kyosho Pro, and he's gonna be like, it's non-televised. It doesn't even actually count.
Yeah. Well, let's turn our attention to G1 Climax 36. So we had night one of the tournament that kicked off this past weekend, Saturday, July 11th, from the Now Arena. A reported attendance of 4,125. So, Josh, you were live there in the building. I was here back at the home front watching from home. How was the live experience of the night one of G1?
It was really interesting. I wish that they hadn't run the Now Arena, to be honest with you. I think for anybody that's unfamiliar, like the Now Arena, which is where the original All In and AW run shows there periodically, it's all the way out in Schaumburg. So it's like a pretty far trek out into the suburbs away from the city. But in the past, like the last couple Windy City Riot shows, New Japan has run the Wintrust Arena, which is, obviously that's not like the United Center in terms of like prestige and everything, but between the two, they're both older buildings, and I wouldn't classify either of them as like fantastic venues, but I think the Wintrust is much more centrally located. It's got better, I think, like viewpoints. It's easier to like.
There's not really a bad seat in Wintrust.
No, and it's not like the Now's terrible, but like, so we were up in the, we did a suite, actually 2 suites side by side. Chris Amsa was kind enough to host a large collection of, podcasters and journalists and friends of his, just a lot of people. There's probably like 30 or so of us that were there. And, I can't shout out everybody that was there, but obviously I spent time with Chris and his family. Damon of Super J-Cast was there, spent time with him. Jeremy Finestone from Speaking of Strong Style. Quite a few others. I want to name those guys because obviously they're the other ones that are like doing the New Japan shit. But where we were like in the premier suite, essentially, like basically you're in the 100 section, and then right above the 100 section is like the suite that we're on. And then there were other suites in the building, but they're on the next 2-tiered levels. So they're much further.
Yeah.
And we could see the action, but it's kind of far away. And it's like the way it's sloped, it's not like the best. Like, remember where we sat in All In?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This wasn't that far. Like, it was basically right in the same area as where we stayed in All In, where it's like, it's okay. You know, the suites were fantastic, but I'm not complaining about that at all. We had a fantastic time, but the building itself, I do wonder, like, why did they run that building when they've been running Wintrust? I assume it probably has something to do with like contracts and, you know, maybe availability and stuff like that. But I wish they had been able to go back to that building because I do think it's better. Plus concessions are better.
Yeah, and it's kind of like downtown Chicago, very easy to get to for people in the city.
Yeah, exactly. But with that being said, the vibes in the building were very interesting. Like, so we've been to so many at this point, New Japan and New Japan adjacent shows in the States. And, you know, some of them have been like WrestleMania based. So you're going to a New Japan show, but it's on a WrestleMania weekend. So you kind of have like the WrestleMania weekend crowd. We've been to the MSG ROH show. We've been to the Kenny Produce show here in Daytona, which was very different. We've been to various differing levels of strong shows here in the States. We went to the G1 in Texas. This was very unique and different, and I think it probably speaks to how New Japan has gone through different phases in terms of like their fandom here in the States. I would say of all of the audiences that we've ever been to, the one that would probably be the closest comparison point would probably be the G1 Climax in Dallas. But that was a much more, obviously it was a bigger crowd, but it was a much larger building. So it was more cavernous. Like when they didn't fill up, I don't remember what building that was in Texas, but it's, you know, it's Mark Cuban's basketball arena.
Yeah, I'm blanking on the name right now.
You know, that was like, it looked really bad on camera and everything like that, but it was a huge audience. Or not huge, but it was relatively a large audience. But they were like right on the cusp of that, what we call the golden age, you know, so it's a lot of LIJ and Bullet Club fans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they're very fervent for like Evil. They're very fervent for Sonata. They're very fervent for those types of guys. This was similar, but a little different. This was sort of like probably the most dedicated New Japan audience in the States that I've ever been a part of. And what I mean by that, it wasn't like they're observant of like the Japanese customs of like, it's not like, it wasn't like being in Japan watching a show with the Japanese audience.
Right.
It was still very clearly like a North American kind of independent wrestling sort of audience. Although the bullshittery, you know, and the getting myself over, that was very much on the, it was minimal. But what I mean by them being like authentic New Japan fans was like, I've seen a lot of these talents, not all of them, but a lot of these talents work New Japan shows, even here in Chicago, where they just got not the greatest reactions. This crowd knew everybody. And not only did they know everybody, they were extremely invested in every single talent. Like there was nobody that was on the card, including like Jake Lee, including like, you know, Ren Narita and stuff like that, like that we're not getting deep investments. And so it showed to me that this crowd was, even though it wasn't the biggest crowd in the world, 4,000, it's a still quasi healthy, you know, audience in terms of numbers, but they were very knowledgeable about New Japan. They clearly are still most of this. Remember we went to Windy City Riot and there were so many people like
the guy in the X-Pac gear.
Yeah. They didn't know what the fuck, or like when we went to the LA show a couple years ago,
Resurgence.
We went to Resurgence and it was like, oh, this audience like does not know what the fuck is going on. Not like that at all. Like this audience knew everything. But I will say this, this audience was clearly a heavier AEW audience than like, it seemed to me like the majority of these people still follow New Japan, but their main probably fandom is based in AEW. And I say that because Takeshita, biggest pops of the night, biggest like support from the audience. There were the meat chants, which obviously like that's going to be an AEW fandom thing. But they were doing promotional videos before the show started, just kind of showcasing like, all right, this is when Chono won. This is when, Muto won, blah, blah, blah. And there was like almost no reactions. But when Kenny popped up, the crowd went fucking crazy, which like, I don't begrudge them, but I did think it was weird because I'm like, he's not fucking here, guys. Like, he can't hear your reaction to him winning the G1, in 2016?
Yeah, he filmed that video like 3 months ago.
No. It wasn't even that video. It was, they were showing him pinning Goto.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking?
Yeah.
Like, you know how when they do like the parade of champions and they show all the people, it was sort of like that, except they were showing like
the
short clips of the finishes where like, it'd be like Kenny wins and then it fades away and then the next guy pops up. But when every time Kenny popped up, the crowd's I'm like, bro, I love Kenny too. No shade. Man's not here right now. Like, he's literally not in the building. Like, he's not going to hear your support.
Yeah.
But that did tell me that this was an audience that was probably still watching New Japan, still invested, but probably is heavier based into AEW. So this is kind of like maybe more like you, Jeremy, where it's like they're crossing over and, following both products, which maybe isn't something that like the sickos on like, say, Reddit want to hear. But I think that there is probably still a lot of crossover here in the States.
Yeah. And so based from my live view or, watching it on New Japan World from home, that's one thing I noticed was, the crowd seemed like a very diehard New Japan fan base. From the opening bell, you had the big G1 chants. And like you mentioned, they knew everybody, like even from Aaron Wolf to the Knockout Brothers, like everybody got pops and reactions. And I gotta say, that crowd sounded energetic the whole night. There was never really a match where they were like low. Like, they were invested and into everybody. And especially when they got to the main event where, Takeshita was definitely the most over guy there, biggest pop of the night, and they were invested in that main event. So, the crowd sounded very fired up.
We've also been to a lot of buildings and, even ROH shows where there's a lot of New Japan talent and stuff. But over the years, you and I, we've been to so many shows where the merch lines have been insane.
Yeah.
I know it was only 4,000 people, so it seems hard to believe, but this seemed to be probably the longest like merch line I can remember seeing for any New Japan show. Like almost the whole build, like we got there around 5:30 when the doors opened, and like the entire concourse like
wrapped
it was wrapped like multiple times over. And me, like I like to get up in between matches, grab myself a Coke or whatever, and like there was almost no time where I didn't see people like still in line for merch. And I think what was happening is they actually did clear all of the fans out of the merch line, but then people kept coming back in between. They were trying to find their opportunity in between matches to like get back into the merch line. So every time I walked out there was people speeding back into the line. And there was, from my understanding is like, I think they did almost sell out like everything they had, but I didn't hear any complaints about like, oh shit, like I stood in line for 40 minutes and I didn't get my G1 shirt. Like they seem to have actually had, quite an extensive level of merch available for the fan. I'm sure they cleaned up, bro. Like there was so much merch and it wasn't cheap. And like they had to have cleaned up on merch.
Yeah, and here's a cheat code for people that want merch from US shows. Like the Tokon Shop Global has everything that they sell at the shows. So you can literally order your shirt like ahead of time or even after the show. Yeah. It's the same exact thing they're selling at the show, and you're not having to wait in line and miss anything.
The only thing that's true. And I did think about that. I didn't, you know me, I'm not like a big merch getter. I will say the G1 shirt, I'm kind of on the fence. I'm like, maybe I was there. That was kind of a cool shirt. But sometimes if you are in a popular size, they might run out of your size.
Right.
Like there is the possibility that if it's a unique shirt that is only limited for one event and they sell a lot of it, they might run out of it because they're probably not going to print 100 or 500 more of those shirts or whatever.
Yeah. And I had a statement here from MJ saying, first G1 in the U.S. in a long time, new ownership, more access to professional broadcast production, and we're still getting rinky-dink ass operations from New Japan shows in the U.S. I guess some things will never change. So I know we briefly talked on Sunday, and you were telling me, yeah, there was a big difference between how the live audience received the show versus people who watched at home. And I watched it, and like I enjoyed the show. I thought the show rocked, but the production was horrible. And I don't know, for somebody for me, like I'm used to that, you know, New Japan of America horrible production. I was able to put all that aside and focus in on the match quality.
You were able to look past
the bad production,
past the outward appearance, and look deep inside the heart, see the beauty that lied within.
Yes, that's exactly. And like the crowd sounded hot, and like it wasn't the best audio, but you can definitely hear the crowd, and I can tell the crowd was hot. But yeah, the camera work, Josh, was so bad. Like
interesting.
It's like the whole like where like you're zooming in and you're pressing it, and it's like jump zooming at sometimes, and like
really,
yeah, they would do like these like weird zoom in and out. Just sometimes the camera they'd cut to the wrong place. Like it was just really, it's probably one of the in recent times probably one of the worst U.S. productions that's been aired.
So I mean, in the building, this wasn't like the singular most authentic looking stage I've ever seen them have, and ring and everything, but it was really good. Like they had the authentic ring, they had the authentic ring skirts, you know, the real, you know, announcers, everything looked pretty good. And then I thought that the stage that they had, it wasn't like the most glamorous thing, but I thought it was I remember like all those years ago, I was pretty upset about the stage at the Dallas G1.
Yeah, that stage sucked.
This stage was better, and I liked, even though the audience was a little bit scarce, they made the actual entrance ramp thinner and then brought the crowd in. So it kind of gave the illusion like the crowd was a little bit fuller than it actually was. I know we got a couple comments here.
Yeah, Mortality 77 says, if this was a resurgence or annual America show, I'd be okay for the production, but for a legit G1 show, I thought the production was terrible.
Bro, that is so disappointing to hear, because here's the thing. You know, in the building, like I was just saying, everything looked really, really good. And then we did have this conversation. I'm sitting there with the boys. I'm sitting there with like Floyd, and I mentioned that I was there with oh my God, with Jeremy Finestone, but what's his co-host name? This was the only time I met him. Was it
Steve? Yeah.
Yeah. So I was with him as well. And it was, he was really great to me as well. And we were talking and we're like, where the fuck's the hard cam? And we're like looking everywhere. We're like, well, AEW they're like, in this building, AEW usually does it there. And I've seen it in the past over here. And for All In, it was here. And we're like, we're looking everywhere, bro. We're like, I don't see a hard cam anywhere. And then I started watching the show, and I saw that it was an upward angled hard cam, and I'm like, bro, it's above us. I was like, we're on the hard cam side, but it's on the second level. But obviously I didn't hear any of the audio. I didn't see any of the production from the streaming. I was just there live, but we did have the Jumbotron. I don't know if what they were showing on the Jumbotron is the same thing that they were putting on the broadcast. Every time I looked up, I was surprised at how good it did look. Like it looked, I was like, damn, did they bring like we were like talking about it. We're like, do you think that they brought like the Japanese production, like a team with them? Cause I was like, they seem to be shooting this shit like really great. But I did have that sinking feeling in the back of my mind where I'm like, is what I'm seeing on this Jumbotron what is being displayed to the audience? Or is it even coming, even though it might look good on the Tron, could be the same thing, but on a stream, who knows what it actually fucking looks like? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it must not have been, because there were some like weird zooming in and zooming out points. They were missing stuff, and it was just horrible camera work. And I didn't see any Japanese cameramen down there. All look like a American, probably some indie production company.
Whiteys.
And it just that the production was really rough. So I can get from the complaints of the production hurting the show, but if you ignore that and you just focus on the match quality, you focus on the reactions that the crowd was giving, I thought, this was a very good G1 night. I thought the show rocked, and it was a fun watch.
Bro, I know we're going to jump into the review here in a moment, but like, we were ecstatic in the building. And I know I've heard instances where people are like, oh, the vibes in the building were so different than like the live audience, or what people at home felt like, blah, blah, blah. This wasn't like that necessarily, but I just like the entire audience, like the scuttlebutt was like, how the whole thing where people was like, we're so back.
Yeah.
People were like, bro, we just saw, there were so many people who are like, I was in Dallas and that was cool, but that wasn't a real G1 night. This was a real fucking like, this is what you want when you go to see a G1 show. Like, we got the real. And I walked out of there and I was like, I think I literally was like talking to Samson. I'm like, bro, I feel bad for Jeremy. I think he just missed the best New Japan US show that they've ever done. Mm-hmm. Like, people were like, that was one of the greatest shows I've ever been to. Like, that's what the vibes were all over the building. Like, people were just going crazy.
Yeah. And then, everything you said, it felt like authentic New Japan. From the look to the ring, like, everybody got big reactions, and there was very little like, how the torture-ism. There weren't run-ins or, ref bumps. Like, it was like pure in-ring strong style action from the opening to the close. Like, it was the show rocked.
And then the next day I was like, well, let me check this cage match. I'm just curious. I just want to see what people are saying, what they're thinking. And obviously, I don't put all the stock in the world in a cage match, but I'm on the site a lot. I've been using it for like 15 years now, like however long it's been around. I've been using it for a long time. I'm pretty good at gauging what people's like vibes and things like that are going to be. And it was like a 6.97 overall. And I was like, oh, what? Or maybe it was lower. I don't even know. But I was like, why is that? It's like a 6. And it's like not even a green, like the number is like orangish yellow. Yeah. Like, what the fuck? I started looking through the list of matches, and I was like, oh, they thought, the general viewer at home thought that this was a mid-ass show. And I was talking with Dan Coffin about it before I talked to you, because I was like, I need to talk to somebody that watched it. And he was like, yeah, man, I thought it was a really good show, but not like super great. And he was telling me about like the production. And I was like, man, I think that the production really had to have like fucked with a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, if you're used to watching, just the normal New Japan production, or if you're an AEW fan tuning in, like, it was really bad compared to those two things. So I can get where if you haven't experienced, New Japan of America broadcast before, you might have been turned off a bit. But if
I don't want to make it sound like I'm making excuses for them. I think that's inexcusable, just for the record. Just like Immortality said, if it's a G1 show and it's this major show in the US, it needs to have a certain level and standard of production that they're just not, like, they're not delivering on it.
Yeah, and for a show this big, like, I don't know what you need to do, but cut Tony Khan a check if you have to. Like, hey, we need, high class production for this is a G1 show. It's not a rinky-dink strong TV taping. This is opening night, G1 Climax. We need to get some high-end production. And
Jeremy, it's not like, I mean, you know as well as I know, it's not like the topic has never been discussed, but it's like you said, are they willing to cut the check? Are there people who have the ability to help New Japan out to put on the production? Absolutely. But this is part of that thing that we've talked about with Bushiroad, where they have not wanted in the past to put cash infusion into the company to help with things like this, you know?
Yeah.
So this is, it's entirely a New Japan issue.
Yeah, Dan Coffin saying use AEW production. It was in Chicago. Yeah, I mean, I would have either called in a favor or arrange some kind of deal to use AEW production, or you gotta what was ROH doing? I felt like ROH always had pretty decent production, especially going into the HD net era and beyond. Like that production company, those guys have to be around somewhere. Like there are like production people that are shooting wrestling that still looks good.
This is ridiculous. Tony Khan was counter programming the show on Saturday night. All right. He brought out Hangman. For the first, you think he's trying to help out New Japan? Come on, let's get real here. Like this man he's trying to steal, terrestrial linear eyeballs away from the G1. So, he's not doing any favors for who we don't even know who to name. I was going to say I guess Tana, but, the other thing too is I looked at those scores and I was just like, fuck.
Yeah, they were low.
They were so low.
It's gone up a little bit since then. I think some of the live viewers have hopped on the cage match. I think it's like a 7 something now, and there's some more green on there.
Well, when I was talking to Dan, and he was like, well, man, watching live is always a different experience than watching on the broadcast. And sometimes you might be apt to give them the live show bump. And I'm like, bro, that's not me. I'm more apt to give a show that I watched live a lower score. And then I'll go back and I'll watch the live broadcast. I'm like, oh, this shit kind of, I don't remember it being this good. So I don't think it was a vibes thing necessary. I mean, sure, it's a different experience, but I know for a fact that I saw 3 to 4 classics that night. And the last match between Takeshita and Tsuji, I was walking out and I was like, I don't know, bro. Was that better than that might've been better than Tokyo Dome. I really can't tell. I need to rewatch them both.
I threw 5 stars on it.
Did you, bro? I was sitting there.
I'm like, this is great. This is incredible. Like to me, it matched the level of the Dome.
I thought it matched the Tokyo Dome match too.
And I went 5 on that also.
Bro, there was moments where we're sitting there and they're hitting some of those reversals and crazy shit. And I'm just like, their chemistry is so fucking unreal. And everyone's like, yes, bro. Oh man. So I guess we should jump into it. But yeah, and here's the last thing I will say though, is we were having the discussion in the Discord about this because I was just so perplexed. I'm like, I just cannot imagine such a differential between this subsect of the audience that uses this, ratings website and my perception of the show. And Fraser, not Fraser Japan, but bad Fraser. he was in the group and he was just like, you do have to take into account the public perception of not just the production itself, but the perception of the brand as a whole as it is right now. There are, because it's not perceived as a hot company, there are people who are going to be apt to maybe hate watch or be ready to slap a negative review because they're not enjoying the product as it is already, and that doesn't necessarily have to come down to the wrestling itself and the quality. It might just come down to I don't like these guys. They're not the guys I remember.
Right. Yeah.
6 stars or,
3 stars. Yeah.
6.5.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is unfortunate. I thought it was a really good show. So yeah, let's jump into it. So show opened up B block action. We had the never open weight champion Aaron Wolf defeating Hanare in 9 minutes and 1 second. So Aaron Wolf comes out of the black trunks. He's got some new gear, some shorts. He got a new ring jacket, and I thought he looked really good in this match. It was very hard hitting, exchange of chops and forearms and Mongolian chops, a lot of strike-based offense, and Wolf hitting the angle slam, and then his like reverse angle slam thing to get the win. So yeah, I thought this was a really good way to open up a G1.
I thought it was really great. I loved, obviously, like Aaron Wolf. I didn't notice that Aaron was in the new gear right away. Like I saw that he had the new jacket, but then like he's in the ring and he takes the jacket off and he's got the new gear. I know, and some people weren't necessarily super high on the gear. I think they thought because it's like that kind of heather muted, like gray, it's not as, you know, kind of like flashy as what you might look for a guy that you're trying to make a star. Mm-hmm. But to me, just getting him in anything that wasn't the black trunks and the black boots, I thought was really good. I also thought like that the biker shorts fit his figure a little bit better than
the black trunks.
Yeah. Than those guys. So, and they kind of reminded me of like Kensuke Suzuki's gear in like the early 2000s. So I thought that was kind of cool. The match itself wasn't like anything to be like, yeah, this was like, it's not going to make like a strong style fight of the year recommendation necessarily or consideration, but it was a really good way to start the show off. The crowd was hot for Aaron Wolf. They liked seeing Hanare. I think Hanare did a fantastic job kind of acclimating Aaron Wolf to the style, helping him to work that style here for the US. And all throughout the match, I noticed he was going for, I don't even know what to call it, whether it's a reverse or an inverted torture rack position, but I saw him getting him up that way and he kept reversing it. And I was like, he's got a new finisher. I don't know what it's going to be, but he's setting him up for something new that he's never done before. And when he finally like hit it, I was like, that is so fucking cool. Like,
yeah, he started doing that. I think he did it in the Yoshihashi match as well. But yeah, it's kind of like a reverse inverted angle slam.
Did he land it though?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. For some reason, I didn't remember that, and almost nobody that was with me remembered it either. And I think we'd all seen the Yoshihashi match. But the other thing too is like there was one moment where I don't know who I was sitting to, but they were just like, man, this guy, he looks like he's not doing anything that's like out of this world, Aaron Wolf, but they're like, he looks so confident. You're kind of waiting for that misstep, or, you know, sometimes they call it happy feet, sometimes, you know, or hesitancy or anything. They're like, he's fluid and everything like that. Like he doesn't ever find himself to be lost in the shuffle. And I'm fortunate enough, like obviously I haven't done extensive wrestling training, but working in a school run by Matt Seidel, who's worked for New Japan and who's worked for Dragon Gate. He's kind of runs a school in a similar manner to like what they do in Japan. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to learn like, okay, when they structure a match, these in between parts where they haven't talked it out, here's the system, like there's a system, and here's how the guys are taught to fill the space without ever having to wonder, what do I do here? Mm-hmm. You know, and when they do whatever, you know, I don't want to pull it back too much, but when they do whatever it is that's coming next, the other guy who's worked these matches 1,000 times, when they see what they're doing, they're like, okay, it's like playing music. You know what I mean? Like if you're in a certain key and you're going into a certain riff and you're playing with the band that you play with, they know what to do too. And so it's like, this guy's probably been doing these reps over and over and over and over again, to where it's like in these down periods, he's not getting lost, and he looks more professional than he should for being a guy that's only really been working in the business, you know, in front of live audiences 6 months, but, you know, behind closed doors a year. Yeah. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, he looked really good. He did this awesome like Uranage throw to Hanare. Yeah, he's putting together a really solid move set, and yeah, I thought he looked like he belonged. The crowd, like you said, they knew who he was. He got good reactions. They were into the whole match, and
he got the Air Wolf, or I'm sorry, G Wolf. That was a really cool chant. I don't know if that came through on the audio or not.
I thought they were saying G1 at one point.
No, bro, they were saying G Wolf.
Oh,
G Wolf, and I was like, fuck yeah, the fucking ace.
I thought he looked really good. I know some people are a little bit critical on the body and the gear, kind of want to see him more maybe in a singlet or even put the gi back on, but I don't know. I thought that this was a swing and a hit for Aaron Wolf. I feel like since the Yoshihashi match, he's like on the right track, and yeah, picks up his first ever G1 win and gets 2 points on the board.
I'm ready for the day he does bring back the gi, but not permanently. Just big match gi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm ready for.
So a few questions here. God of Gobberfish, we kind of answered this one and said, what do you think about the newer tires showing off so far, specifically Aaron Wolf? So we kind of talked about that.
I like it.
Yeah, it looked good. Solid Deuce says, you guys think Wolf has a shot at winning? His booking on the final nights look a bit suspicious.
I don't think it's, I can't say it's impossible, but I'm not banking on it. I think the furthest you could possibly take him, if you wanted to get crazy with it, you could probably take him to a final, but I don't think they should do that. I think the more other realistic is like getting him to a semifinal. And even that I think is pretty auspicious. Like he's probably not going to get that far.
Yeah. In my bracket, I had him go through to the semifinal, but I did a crazy like five-way
tie
with 10 points because he's facing Zack Sabre on the last night. And that seems like an important match. That last B-Block night, like him versus Sabre and then Drilla versus Umino, those seem like the two most important matches on that night. So to me, those seem like those are the winning you're in scenarios. Obviously, they can do some other stuff. Maybe the math doesn't work out that way. But I feel like as of right now, those are going to be the two most important matches of that final B-Block night. So you got to think either, it's going to be a really good match. Zach beats him, that goes through. Or Wolf is either going to spoil him and Zach doesn't go through, or Wolf beats him and that's what gets Wolf through. Or
they go to a draw. Or a double count out.
Yeah. But yeah, so it might be crazy, but I think, yeah, those last few nights, he has some really important big opponents that
I think they would be crazy not to have him in the mix because of the profile that he carries.
Right. Yeah. And that's what I was saying on the flagship. Like, I don't know. As of right now, they haven't announced any, TV airings. But, like, if they wanted to air the semifinals and finals, like, you got a drawing card. Like, we got Ten's on retirement, and we got Aaron Wolf's, his G1 debuts in the semifinals. Like, you could do something with that if they wanted to air a little TV special.
That's why I can't say it's impossible that he would make it into the playoffs or even the finals. But if I was a betting man, he's probably going to do pretty well. And I could see him probably losing to Zach on that final night sort of thing.
Yeah.
So that he has, we had already kind of, even before his debut, wondered what the vibes with him and Zach were going to be because they talked about one another behind the scenes, like in the post matches. A lot of people probably don't remember that. And we were like, will that be his first guy before it became evil?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that there's win, lose, or draw. There's probably some juice in the Wolf Zach program, maybe for this year's G1 even, or I'm sorry, for like Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah. Then Bad Frazier says, Jeremy, given the history of the sandwich and the prominence of the bear in the last few years, is it a sign of Chicago's cultural decline that the crowd chanted meat instead of beef?
My problem with this question is that it's specifically directed at you, but I was in Chicago. You weren't even in Chicago. Do you watch The Bear?
No, I don't.
See, this man's never even fucking watched The Bear. I'm on season 5. I'm finishing up the final episodes. I'm going on an emotional roller coaster. But I've been off for 2 weeks, and Fraser is literally directing questions away from me as if I'm not a member of KISS anymore.
That's what happened when you miss 2 weeks in a row.
I guess so. Might as well pack it in. But yeah, what were your thoughts here in the meat chants during the show?
It was fine. I mean, it's kind of what you expect from an American audience. And yeah, you had two, beefy guys here. So it made sense. I didn't hate it, but it obviously, like, that's not your traditional, New Japan chant.
Oh, I fucking hate it, bro. But here's the thing. Let me preface it by saying this. There was a point in time where I used to believe, like, I wish we would see New Japan audience members in the States like emulate and try to recreate the environment overseas, be like, we're the refined fans. We don't, but I've come to terms just realizing that's never going to happen, and that's okay. But I fucking hate the meat chance, and not because it's an AEW thing, because it's fucking stupid. It's one of those things where it was really cool the one time that it happened.
It was organic. It's kind of happened.
And it was like a cool moment, and it was organic. But now anytime two beefy dudes are just doing shoulder tackle spots, which it's like, bro, what the fuck do you think two big dudes are going to, it's the immovable object versus the,
irresistible force. Yeah.
Irresistible force or whatever. They're always going to do those spots. You don't have to say meat every single time you throw forearms at each other's chests. Like, I think it's the stupidest chant in all of professional wrestling, and I wish it would die a sick death. And if you say meat if you're one of the people that not only says it but tries to get it started, I judge you.
Well, let's move on to
the
next matchup here from the A block. We have the Silent Jester Jake Lee defeating the Rampage Dragon Shingo Takagi in 10-14.
So this was probably one of the most talked about matches in the discussions that I was having leading up to the show, because everyone sort of knew, it's a lot of diehard fans. We all kind of know what to expect from most of these matches, but then it's like, damn, I'm so excited to see Shingo, but he's wrestling Jake Lee, so fuck my life. Like,
Yeah.
And, I won't belabor the whole conversation, but it's many of the same talking points that you've had over several weeks now on this show and others. And so we weren't looking forward to the match. And then obviously Jake Lee is in full on character gimmick mode. He's got the face paint, everything, blah, blah, blah. But I got to say this, Jeremy, the man had his working boots on. He tried. He tried.
I thought this match was actually very good. He had the full face paint on, and he was dancing around, but yeah, he was working really hard. He didn't have the black glove out. He didn't have the monkey. He danced around a little bit, but like he wasn't doing the full on every 5 minutes dancing kind of thing. I thought he had the working boots on. He was pretty serious, and anytime he did kind of dance around, that opened up Shingo to like pop him in the face and do his offense. And yeah, I thought he was a great foil for Shingo here. Shingo towards the end hit him with a German suplex. He popped up, hit the face break, which is his version of the haluva kick, and pin Shingo. But yeah, I really, for a 10-minute Jake Lee match, I thought this was pretty good.
I mean, there were things that I didn't love. There was the point where he was Jake Lee was solo in the ring, and he started doing the Pennywise dance, and literally Samsa was a couple, like we were all in the suite, but he's down a few rows, and he turns around, and I know he's looking for me, and I'm already just like stone faced, like shaking my head, like what the fuck are we doing? And he fucking died laughing, like he caught me there. But the match itself, there were times where Jake Lee was slowing things down. He would rake the eyes, and he would go for the knee, or the knee attacks, and then put him in the guillotine. It wasn't like he was stupendous and stellar, but he just wasn't with the bullshit. And we've seen these guys wrestle a couple times this year already, and all the matches, I would say, pretty much literally sucked. This one was good. It wasn't great. I don't think you should go out of your way and watch it, but it was good. The biggest thing though is the main story of the match was just Shingo beating Jake Lee's ass. And every single time that Jake Lee tried to really cut him off or get back in there, Shingo had him scouted and had an answer and was just kind of on top. And that's when like Samsa's like, Jake Lee's about to win. because there's no way that Shingo would be on top for that length of time for that long without this guy walking away with something. Like he never had a comeback or anything.
Yeah.
And then he hit him with that face break shot, and it kind of just came out of like Shingo was on top for a long time, and then boom, he hits him with the shot. And I'm like, wasn't a bad match, but I thought that it wasn't even so much that Jake I know people were mad that Jake Lee beat Shingo. A lot of people hated that decision. That wasn't the issue for me because it's the G1. Anybody could beat anybody. It's the way they did it. It just didn't seem earned. Like he got his ass beat and then pulls out the big boot out of it. It wasn't set up hardly at all. It just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, especially since he had been working over the midsection because, he took Shingo out earlier in the year with the giant killing knee, and he was doing that throughout this match as well. So, yeah, you would think that maybe it would have been like another giant killing knee to set up the finish. But, yeah, outside of that, I thought the match was pretty good.
Funny thing is, I won't say any names, but, I was kind of like going back and forth between the two, suites that we had. And I saw a lot of journalists like taking notes, because I know that they're going to talk about it on their shows. They're all taking notes. And I was like, I'm not taking any fucking notes.
Off the dome, baby.
I'm going to remember what I remember, and I'm going to forget what I forget, and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah. Question from Def Triangle 720: do you think Jake Lee has taken the Yano role in the G1?
Someone said something like that. I think someone told me that they think Sonata was going to fill that role, but maybe it would be Jake Lee. But I don't know. Based on this first night, there wasn't enough comedy from anybody to really be Yano, unless you just want to call him the night off guy.
Yeah. I mean, if he goes back to Japan, he's pulling out the black glove, he has the monkey, he's, doing all this stuff, then yeah, maybe he's a Yano. But if not, then, if he keeps this pace up, and even on commentary, Chris Charlton was like, this is the most urgency I've seen him wrestle with. Even, he had a title match. He didn't have this kind of urgency in the title match. And so, yeah.
He was trying.
Yeah.
He was and he's not alone. Well, that's going to be a running theme throughout this review. Every single person that was there had their working boots on.
Yeah. Rambo Slam Pig says, will Jake Lee's 9 block matches collectively gather a total of 20 stars in ratings? I would be against it myself.
I'm trying to think, what's the math on that?
Well, yeah, he's going to have 9 matches.
Bro, I'm terrible at math. So, all right, let's just do the 20 divided by 9.
So,
2.222. Repeating.
So the max would be 45 stars on a 5-star scale.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically he would need to do sub 2.25 for every match to have less than 20 stars.
Yeah.
I thought that I would give this match 3.25-ish.
Yeah, I'm like 3.25, 3.5.
Yeah. So it's like he's trending way above where you need him to be to get just 20 stars,
Yeah. So following that, we had B block action. Oscar defeats Ren Narita in 9 minutes and 42 seconds. And a theme for this night, new gear, new music. So big Oscar coming out here with his new singles music and gear, and uses the Nightmare Sleeper to get the win over Narita. What do you think about this one, Josh?
So the funny thing is I didn't know whose music. I didn't even know until you just said it that this was new music for him. I guess it makes sense. He's probably just been using the KOB music, right?
Right, yeah.
The way that the Tron was, because it was straight ahead, it just looked so. I didn't recognize the music, so I started perked up, and I'm like, "Who is this?" And then the way that the face in all red looked. It didn't look like Oscar. It looked like some angry lady. And I was like, what fucking lady is coming out right now? And then I realized, it's Oscar. Oscar, bro, he's a big fucking dude. We've seen some big dudes wrestle in New Japan over the years, that are similar archetype, like Tangaloa and, even like Cody Hall, stuff like that. But Oscar's a big dude, bro. And it was really evident against Ren. I don't know if this came through on the audio, but they were chanting at Ren Narita. They were saying "House of Bullshit."
Yes, yeah, that was very loud.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
And then this was probably a similar match that we're gonna see in a lot of Oscars singles matches, because it's kind of the archetype of what we saw during his New Japan Cup. And I'm sure it'll continue to sort of be a story throughout the rest of the G1, where it's they're going to go for his leg, especially Renarita, who specializes as a guy who attacks people's knees and cuts them down to size. And that's already sort of his style of match. That's what we saw here. But yeah, like you said, there wasn't too much House of Torturism. We didn't have like the whole entire crew there with him. It's just sort of Renarita on his own doing his thing. And I thought that he worked really hard. He didn't necessarily come off as like a star or anything, but he gave an interesting, unique challenge to Oscar. And when Oscar was able to eventually overcome the body part attack and get back on top, the crowd was really happy. But when he put on that sleeper and started spinning him, that crowd, that was the up to that point, and it was probably like the maybe third biggest pop of the evening. They lost their fucking minds, dude. And like we've seen him use that spinning sleeper to put people away in Japan. I didn't know if it was just like they were excited because they hate Renarita and they wanted to see him lose. I don't know if it's just KOB is super over, and I think that's part of it. But you know what I think it really is, Jeremy? Here in the States, we just love a fucking twirl. We love the big spin, dude. And when he started spinning him around, that audience lost their mind. I'm like, bro, if you want to get over in the States, you spin somebody, you're going to, bro, spins are going to get you over. That's like a cheat code now.
Yeah. So yeah, that was great. And yeah, I don't really love the whole, big man architect where you have to work the knee over. I get like, especially for Renarita, I guess it made sense, but it will get boring if we have 9 matches of chop block, figure 4, he's selling the knee, and then he comes back. But for what it was, the match layout, I thought it made sense for this night and this crowd. And, Oscar got to sell a little bit and show some of his power. Yeah, came back with the Nightmare Sleeper and got the win.
There's probably some people listening. They're like, I know the answer here. We want to see him do more Monster. And my retort to that is, no, we want to see him do more Archer. Let's see this man leave his feet a little bit,
Do some flips.
Do some flips. Go to the top rope. Hit a dive. Catch a vibe. You know what I'm saying?
So following that, we had Oscar's partner in the A block, Yuto Ice, defeating the Great Okan in a...
Whoa. Not the Great Okan. One of the greatest G1 practitioners ever in the history of the sport, Great Okan. Let's be sure to announce him as such.
Okay. Well, he took an L here to Yuto Ice. So once again, new music and new gear for Yuto Ice. He had the all white on, his own singles rap song came out full of energy.
There was like one box that I kept paying attention to because I didn't know who was in the box, but like it was clearly non-wrestling fans and it seemed like quasi important people. And there's sort of always been this old adage where it's like, if you see very attractive women at a wrestling show, it's pretty much safe to assume most of the time that I'm not saying they couldn't be fans, but especially if they're like done up well, what I mean? Like they got like a
they're
nice
wearing
dress on.
A dress to the nightclub and they got full on makeup on. And
exactly. They're probably not marks. They're probably there with one of the talents. That's pretty much like the assumption there is like they're dating one of the boys. They're one of their wives or something like that. This wasn't that. This, I could tell by the body language of what I was seeing that there were like men in suits and women in dresses. And it seemed like higher up people, but they were like American or at least like Westerners. They weren't like Japanese. And they didn't seem to know what was going on because the way they were reacting to the show, like they were into it, but it was very clear like this is the first time that they were like seeing it. And I didn't watch them the whole night, but I watched their reaction when Yuto Ice came out. There's all these women in like these like, like you said, like basically like club dresses and like big hair. And when he's walking out and he's doing the whole gimmick, bro, they were losing their minds and they all started like talking to each other and they all started like imitating him. And I'm like, bro, the people that think that this gimmick is not going to work, they don't get like how translative it is and how like, kind of infectious it is. Like people like it.
You hear the beat going and you
yeah, bro. I will say this though. For me, the worst match of the evening until Great Okan almost beat him and Yuto Ice kicked out. I don't even remember really what happened to get to that point, but I remember it felt like now granted, I've had a long week and I had a really long weekend in Chicago and I was pretty tired, but this just felt like it was the quietest match of the night. And it felt like the most, oh my God, Okan is here phoning this shit in. And this is terrible to watch until again, he almost got a near fall over Yuto. And when it almost hit 3 and Yuto Ice kicked out, that was the second biggest pop of the night. The crowd lost their shit. And then from there, the closing stretch was entirely exciting and entirely hot. And it's kind of hard for me to like judge the match on that merit because it's like, well, they closed so well and it's all based on how how good the finish was based on how terrible the lead up to it was, because the fans wanted to see Yuto Ice overcome and they wanted to see him do exciting things. And Okan was making that not possible because he was just sucking it up. So it's like, as a heel, I guess he was doing his job. But for me, I didn't enjoy the match until the close. Yeah, I mean, overall, I thought the match was good. Not one of the best matches of the night. You did have Okan doing some evilism. He sat Yuto on a chair and got another chair and swung it to hold the baseball that was
spot.
That was pretty cool.
But outside of that, it was kind of a lot of slow, meandering, brawling, and kind of cutting off Yuto Ice. And then there was a spot where he threw Yuto into the ref, and that opened up him to do a low blow. And he hit that, I think, the Sheep Killer for a near fall. But then, Yuto kicked out, came back.
That was the moment, yeah.
Yeah, he did the Bombaclat knee, did the Cruella, and he got the win.
Yeah, when he won, I would say probably the second most over guy of the evening behind Takeshita is what it felt like.
Yeah, I feel like from his entrance, huge pop, and huge pop for when he won. And I dug the new gear, and he looked great. And we had a question from Siamese Twin Cobra. Do KOB regain the tag title shortly after the G1, or is there a build towards winning them back at Wrestle Kingdom?
I think, honestly, either of those two things are viable. The interesting thing is, up to this point, neither man has really had any sustained success as a singles competitor. We're going to see what kind of push they might put behind these guys in a G1, because they are getting their own singles presentations for the first time ever in their New Japan careers. But that's not to say that they will take off and stop teaming. Like, there's still so much money to be made with them as a tag team act. So probably, I'm guessing, if I had to guess between the two, I don't know. It's hard because it's
I think either is viable, but
you could put it on October. You put it back on them, or you can have them win
Tag League
and go. Yeah, you could have them go into Tag League as champions, or win Tag League and then try to regain in the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, but they definitely went out of the way to give them the singles presentation. So maybe they might work on that a little bit post G1. But I think at any point they are obviously super credible and can be inserted back in the tag picture at any point.
I think the only reason you would probably expect either of them to have any further immediate attention as a singles guy is if either of them or both of them win a meaningful match against like a champion. Because I don't think we're at the point where either of them are going to be in that 10-point range. I think that's just super duper unrealistic, especially with how stacked the blocks are. But they'll probably have respectable, point totals. But if either of them were to, say, beat like a TV champion or a never champion or something like that, like someone that they could get an immediate defense off of, then that's something to look out for. Because then that's something you could feel like a destruction or a power struggle or whatever you need to with a future title shot.
Yeah, for Yuto, he's got obviously Suji in his block. So world title shot potentially there.
No.
Bolton,
Well, maybe if you're trying to make some money.
Yeah, and then you got Bolton with the strong title. And then over in the B block, Oscar, he's got Wolf as a never champion. He's got Takeshi as an A block TV champ. So yeah, Yuto can get a TV shot there. And then you got the global title in the B block. So Oscar, if he beats Gabe Kidd, he can get a global title shot. So yeah.
So there's some viability there for sure.
Yeah. So in a following match from the B block, a Wrestle Kingdom main event rematch, we had Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the Roughneck Shota Umino in 16 minutes and 10 seconds.
This was the first really great match of the night. And these two guys have had, putting aside the one stinker in the one match that they probably needed to have a great match, which was the Tokyo Dome match a couple years ago, putting that one aside, which is actually an outlier, they've almost never had anything but fantastic matches against one another. Mm-hmm. And I feel like since last year's G1 specifically, they've only ramped up more and more in terms of intensity and my enjoyability as like a fan. And they had an incredible match in this year's New Japan Cup. And I thought that this one also stood out to me incredibly. I don't remember all the moves, move by move, but some of the moments, like there was a lariat that was landed. I actually don't remember who landed the lariat, but there was one that was like, I think it might have been Zach landing an inside out lariat on Shota, which was like unexpected. And that was super impressive. Zach putting him in an arm bar on the top rope that the crowd went really crazy for. The DDT on the apron through the ropes that Shota hit, and Zach like taking it right on his head and then selling it like with a headstand, and the crowd was like losing their minds for that shit. So there was some really, really incredible stuff here. And for me, I thought this was easy for possibly, depending on your enjoyability, maybe even above 4. But I think 4 is like the floor on this one. This was a great match.
Yeah, I went 4 stars flat on it. It's definitely not their best match, and it was also in the middle of the card. So, had they had maybe a little bit more time and structured a little bit differently, it could have been better. But I thought, this was like the first high-end G1 quality match of the night. And, the whole story of also, Zach's going to, work the limbs, try to slow him down. Umino's got to use his speed and his power. Umino's he did a Zach driver at one point in the match. Thought that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
So a lot of really great back and forth. He's trying to hit the second chapter throughout. Zach had a lot of great counters for that. Then towards the end there, it took a couple Zach drivers for Zach to finally put him away.
Yeah, there was also the feeling where it's like he hit the first Zach driver, he didn't pin him, and it's like, oh man, Umino might like come back now, but then he got put away. And this is right on the heels of like him winning the global, and then in short order, he wins the global. He goes to Forbidden Door, has a classic against Pac, which everyone's talking him up as like, is this the next big like Japanese like crossover guy? And then like later that week drops it to Gabe in Japan and the title's off of him. And it's like, what the fuck does that mean for him? Plus all this stuff going on with Mox. And then turns around and loses to old foe ZSJ on the opening night. So there's like a lot kind of going on there. One of the big discussions with me and some of the other, guys that kind of know ball, we were just like, there was like the discussion of like, do you think this means Umino is going to win? And me and Samson were both like, maybe, but he just has so much going on. Like, it feels like there's too many programs to kind of tie up before Wrestle Kingdom. But once he lost this match, certain people came back over and they were like, kind of feels like classic Gato. You're going to take 2 to 3 losses to start out. And now we're going to get you on the comeback trail. And I was like, yeah, that might be what this is.
Yeah, I feel like, getting the global title off of him eating this loss here, especially since he's always beaten Zach in tournament matches. Anytime Zach's beaten him, it's only been title matches. Yeah, just definitely.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is the first time that Zach has beaten him in a tournament format, and that overall they're 4-4 now. But yeah, so I feel like there's a lot of signs pointing towards he's probably winning. And when I talked with Sam, we talked about, yeah, there is a whole, Moxley Death Rider stuff looming. And yeah, how's that play into it? I mean, people always complain about the fall being kind of boring. I mean, you could use some of that stuff to maybe spice up his fall, building up to the dome. Or, there's a whole new thing that's been happening the last couple of years where the winner's been getting a shot at King of Pro Wrestling. Maybe that's happening, Tsuji versus Umino in October. So there's a lot of different things that could happen with Umino winning.
Yeah, there's a lot of variability there, things to kind of consider and be mindful of. But I thought this match was fantastic. And this was the first match where I was starting to fall asleep and then this one hit and I was like, all right, this really hit. And we've seen Shooter in the States before, the one a few times, but the one the match with twice in Chicago. The first match with Jack Perry was one of the hottest matches of that card and really notable. Mm-hmm. And then the next year we saw him challenge for the IWGP World Heavyweight title against Goto. And it was not that great of a match. Honestly, it felt like it fell extremely flat.
Yeah.
And it was this is a guy who he shouldn't even be in this position right now. This was a huge mistake for them to even do this at the time.
Yeah.
But in both of those instances, Jeremy, and you were there and you can speak to this, Shota was the B-side in both of those matches.
Yeah.
He was on, I'm not going to say he was, okay, actually I will say this. Zach is probably within the bounds of the match. Him and Zach were probably on even footing, I would say. But that whole thing where it's when Cena would get the cheers and the boos, and you could tell the women and the children were the ones that were giving the cheers to Cena. Mm-hmm. That kind of existed here. There were quite a few women in our group who were not paying attention to the show. Maybe maybe New Japan's not their thing, but they're there to hang out. But they all knew Shota Umino. And when Shota Umino came out, and it's probably because of the AEW connection, I would assume too. Mm-hmm. And that probably also speaks to this, but so many fans, there were pink lights and even signs. He's the only guy I saw signs for in the whole entire thing, which I thought was crazy. And he got much bigger reactions for the entry than Zach did. Now, some of that I chalk up to Zach just having the worst entrance, the most low energy, music that you ever could if you want to enter and try and get a pop. It's unpoppable music.
Right, yeah. But then once he starts working, there was the whole, go Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah. That still existed. And so it's he's still over, but Shota Umino was not the B-side. He was over. This is the most over I've ever seen him on a New Japan show in the States.
Yeah, that's good. So following that, we go back to the A block. We had Hiroki Goto defeating the Cold Blood Snake Sonata in 12 minutes and 4 seconds.
I feel like I've seen these guys wrestle a million times, and I couldn't even off the top of my head name you a single Sonata Goto match that I think is notable or memorable or remember G1 this time or remember New Beginning. They're just there. And these guys, I think, have worked together a lot. They're fine. They probably both have better dance partners. So this wasn't one I was necessarily looking forward to, especially with some of the stuff I've seen from Sonata and the lead up to it. I just was super skeptical. But I will say this, when he entered with the gold suit on and
that
everything was
sombrero,
it wasn't just the sombrero and all that, although that was funny, but it's the way the lights were hitting the gold and then the reflection, and he was basically a human disco ball, but a gold disco ball. I was sitting there and I was like, it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. And it's funny, Floyd Johnson and Rich Craich were in front of me and they're having a conversation. And then Sonata starts walking. I'm like, shut up, guys. shut up. Sonata's about to walk out. They're like, you're right. We gotta, of course, we can't talk through Sonata's entrance. But the match started, and I'm not gonna like oversell it and be like, this was just out of this world fantastic. But I can't remember the last time I remember Sonata looking this good. This was light years above what he looked like against Takeshita just like a month or two ago. And I still think that any of the criticisms about where he is in terms of a character, I mean, there are some people that love Sonata and they love like all the, you know, the under the surface stuff and talking about that shit. I don't care about that. I just care about what happens between the bells. But he was trying his ass off, bro. Like he was hitting all of his like main stuff that he's ever done throughout his career, but doing it well. And then obviously he's in there with Goto, who at this point is like a maestro. Mm-hmm. And I remember at one point, like I was getting up to go out into the concourse. I think someone that's a fan of the show wanted me to like go talk to them real quick. So, and I was just going to like stand up, and I look over to Damon from Super J-Cast, and I was like, Sonata's trying. He's trying. And he's like, bro, I just said those words. He's like, he just did a fucking moonsault. Like, so I thought that this was pretty good actually for what it was.
Yeah, I thought it was a solid match, and obviously, you know, we didn't, again, no House of Torture shenanigans, no going for the guitar, you know, no powder or any of the other weird stuff we've seen Sonata do since being a part of House of Torture. So yeah, it was almost like LIJ Sonata facing Goto, so that was good. At one point, he did Goto's Ushigoroshi for a near fall. So yeah, there was some cool kind of back and forth there. You know, did the self-assisted magic screw at one point, but then it all came back to Goto hitting the wrist clutch GTR, the GTR Kai, getting the win there. So yeah, so a really solid outing here, and it's kind of what you would hope from Sonata, but I have a feeling when he gets back to Japan that we're probably going to see some more of the guitar and ref bumps and low blows and all that stuff. But for this night, it was good stuff.
I feel like he deserves the down cycling. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's just like he was ascending for so many years and falling short and attempting to get to the main event. And then he did. And we sort of supposed that he would be sort of this ancillary, like gatekeepery sort of like, you know, veteran. And to a certain extent, yeah, he did work some programs at the top even after like losing the title. But now that he's left and come back, it doesn't even really feel like he is like a war dog still, even though he cheated a little bit against Takeshita. Like there's no vestiges, there's no logos, there's nothing in the black. He hasn't really, other than like when he was coming out in the tuxedo and the mask, he hasn't really associated himself with the War Dogs guys at all so far. Maybe that will change.
How the Torture?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a multi-man.
It's all Bullet Club to me in my brain.
Yeah, there was a couple of multi-mans on the Road to G1 shows where he teamed up with them.
But even when he did that, he just was kind of there. Like he didn't seem like he's, you know, House of Torture the way he was before. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And so I do kind of wonder, like, where are they going with this? But to me, it feels like he probably could do with downcycling, and not in a negative way, but like he's a guy that probably should be in the Never division more so than the Global division. He's a guy that should be like middle of the card at this point in time. And that's probably a more fitting use of his talents.
Yeah. One thing I do want to notice is I didn't notice this in the Takeshita match, but his arm, whichever arm, I forget which one, it's like the injured arm is like super small compared to the other one. I didn't notice that in the Takeshita match.
It's atrophied for a while now, and it's gotten really bad.
Yeah, but it stood out to me here. Like it was like, oh my gosh, like it looked like rail thin.
I'm surprised you could see it with the terrible, you know, the production.
Well, that was probably one of the points where they like zoomed in too much, and but yeah, that looked pretty rough on him. Question here from Def TWY Angle: was Sonata the best dressed person in the arena on Saturday night?
I don't know. My wife, she got me this really cool Shining shirt, and I got like 6 or 7 like compliments on my Shining shirt. So I don't know how many. I wonder how many compliments Nada got in the sombrero, and maybe we can compare numbers.
Yeah. Let's do a fan poll. After that, back to the B block, we had the Prince, Callum Newman, scoring a win here over the Heat Storm, Yuya Uemura, in 15 minutes and 42 seconds.
I thought that this match was the second one where I was like, this one's really fantastic. I liked it even better than, and no shade on them, but I liked it better than the Zach and Shota Umino match.
Same.
And it was, in a lot of ways, it was very much a condensed, more action-filled, like faster-paced version of what they did in the New Japan Cup, which is great. But you also sort of had the wrinkle of what's going on with Callum Newman and the injury that he's sort of recently like suffered from and recovered from. And I know that when Charlton was on the show, he sort of mentioned like it was something like that needed to be addressed and dealt with, but it's like they didn't need surgery. It just sort of seemed like with rest, he'll be okay. But now he's in this tournament. He's kind of banged up, and it is becoming a focal point. And it was very much a focal point of this match. The question I had was, I was trying to remember what is his it's the make way. That's his finisher, right?
Yeah, that's his primary finisher, is the make way. Yep.
So I was trying to remember how he actually does the make way, because I know he hoists the guy up and it's like a F5 into like the sit out thing. And I was like, is he going to have to like sell the arm when he goes to use it? Is he not gonna be able to get the guy up, or is he going to use it and not be able to like capitalize with like a pinfall because it damages him? And that didn't seem to be the case here yet. But the conversation I was having with Chris as we drove back from the venue, he was sort of saying like, this could be one of two things. It could be him putting, like, he got the victory and there were the questions about the injury, and now maybe it's him saying like the injury is not going to be a factor here, and putting that to bed, putting that to rest, and just kind of moving on and progressing in the rest of his tournament. But I kind of get the feeling like it's going to stay a focal point for him, and we'll see the damage accumulate throughout. And I think Chris kind of also agreed with me. I think we were just kind of talking about different scenarios, what might happen. And seems to me like, even though he got the victory here, this is the first of 9 matches for him. So they're going to keep focusing on this shoulder, this arm. And I think that might be the ultimate like detriment to him, possibly winning the tournament.
Yeah, and also he was in here with Uemura, who's a very arm-based attacker, lots of big arm drags and arm bars. And then later on in the tournament, he's going to have Zack Sabre Jr., so Zack is going to be working that arm throughout the match, and Zack will probably end up maybe tapping him out. There might be a ref stoppage there. So, yeah, there are some guys in this block that will definitely target that arm. Yeah, I do think it'll be the story of his tournament, and the thing that
and he has Oiwa as well in the block, right?
No, Oiwa's an A block.
I thought Oiwa, for some reason I thought Oiwa was in B block. I thought so was Oleg. No,
that's an A block match.
I think the reason I was thinking that is because there's so much like never focus on the B block, so I thought they kind of fit in that mold.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoyed this match a lot. So yeah, it was Uemura working over the arm, going for arm bars, trying to hit the deadbolt suplex, and then Newman, like you mentioned, it was kind of like a faster pace of their New Japan Cup match. So Newman using his speed, he hit the Excalibur at one point, the Princess Curse at one point for a near fall. Uemura was going for his version of the high fly flows, which ended up backfiring at the end, and Newman was able to hit that make way after kicking out of a dragon suplex from Uemura to get the win and get his first 2 points.
Yeah, and Newman hit a crazy dive into the chairs with like a kick.
Yeah.
And that was where we were like, Yeah, they're going for it. Like they're really like trying to. Everybody on this show is like trying to make it something special. There was also a release deadbolt that that Uemura hit, and Callum took it right on his tailbone, like popped up off his tailbone. I was like, oh, that looked kind of nasty.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing is, right towards the end, Uemura, I don't remember what two moves specifically, but he hit some sort of suplex that it looked like, oh, this might be it. And then Callum kicked out.
It was a dragon suplex.
Yeah, and we were having a conversation before that where because I was with Chris a lot of the night, and Chris was like, I wonder if they're gonna do the same thing he did in the New Japan Cup, where it's like each night that he wins with a different maneuver, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he hit that dragon and didn't win. And it felt like we're at the crescendo, and I was like, oh, I knew what they were doing, bro. And I was like, they're doing the young lion finish. And that is exactly what they did. Like he hit the dragon. Everyone felt like it was going to be it. And then they pop back up. And then he goes into another like very close finisher that ends with a pinfall. I don't remember what it was, but he got it. And then he kicked out. And if you've ever watched those young lion rally matches against veterans, it's like they always get one big move, near fall, next one, near fall. And then they're going to go for a third one. They get cut off, and then they get hit with the finisher and they lose. That's what happened. Like as soon as he kicked out of that first one, I was like, oh, he's about to fucking lose this match. and then he, but this was just like a more professional major main event version with a lot more reversals. And then he got hit with the make way. And then it was like, oh shit, he took a loss. And I was like, everyone that was around me, I was like, he's about to lose. And they're like, really? And I was like, they're doing the young lion finish. That's the one that, the most basic version of it is like what we learn in like wrestling school. It's like small package. All right, backslide, and you get like your 3 schoolboy and you make it look like you're about to pick up the win, but you're not really going to win.
Right. You get cut off and you get dropped.
Right. And that's what they did there. And I was like, man, that's kind of cool. They like took this very, elementary version, like element of professional wrestling and like gussied it up, made it look like something that's main event, but I could see it. And I was like, oh, they're just doing the young lion formula. That's crazy.
Yeah. So a really good match there. And again, no United Empire run-ins or interference or, Newman teasing about cheating. So again, it was more about what's going on in ring. So yeah, awesome matchup here.
So we're like in the new dojo or whatever I want, a studio. And I've set up the dog's like cubby next to me, and he's still like kind of getting used to everything. Bro, he's being so dramatic. I like put him on the ground. I'm like, go in your like little cage or cave or whatever. But like his favorite blanket is on the floor. So he's just like making himself a martyr. He's like, I'll just circle around and go under this I'll just go under this blanket and sit on the floor here. And I'm like, bro, go in your fucking cave. Like, what are you doing? He wants to make himself seem like a victim because he doesn't like this new room.
Acknowledge me. Question from Def TWY Angle. Should we read much into how Yuya's G1 outfit matches the color of this year's G1?
No, but I did like that he had like the added blue element. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought it was like red, white, and blue for like being in the US. I think to me it didn't seem like it was just G1 colors.
We were kind of far away, so I couldn't totally tell, but to me it just looked like he added blue to the flame, and I always like when you have like the little blue inside, so I thought that was cool.
Yeah. He had some good gear. Then we go to the semi-main event spot from the A block. We had the Grip, Roy Oiwa, defeating the strong openweight champion, Bolton Oleg, in 13 minutes and 28 seconds.
So I thought it was really interesting when I finally saw the card that this was the semi-main event, because it was like, yeah, these are two guys that everybody wants to see pushed and put in prominent positions, but on this card, it didn't necessarily feel like they would get that opportunity. So when they were the semi-main event, it was like, that's pretty awesome. Now, I thought the match was very, very, very good. I didn't think it was as good as their New Japan Cup match personally. And I think it would fall just a little short of what I would call great.
Yeah, I'm like 3.75.
Yeah, but I still thought it was a really quality outing for both guys. The biggest thing is that, again, this was also a story about Oleg Boltin returning from injury, and so his shoulder and arm being focused on, and that actually being the way that Oiwa was able to capitalize and pick up the victory here. And so there was sort of the discussion point had in the car where it's like, are they going to focus on Callum's injury with the arm when Oleg already also, they did the same thing in 2 matches back to back. And I was sort of like, well, it is the G1. So you can have multiple similar stories and it not be necessarily overkill because everybody's banged up. But I did think it was interesting to see those 2 stories in such close proximity on the card.
Yeah, and they are in separate blocks. Also, this was a dual block card, but going forward, they'll be on separate nights. And so I definitely thought, especially for Oiwa, it makes sense because he's obviously a Zack Sabre student, attack the body part. So yeah, it made a ton of sense here. So yeah, I thought it was a very good match. And
I loved the grappling.
In the beginning,
parts,
yes.
The wrestling, I was like, oh, so they're doing some real, we're getting some shoot shit out here. Like, this is really fantastic. I've said this on the show many times before, and I don't know do you know the name of this top wrist lock hold that he does?
I keep forgetting it. I know Nigel used to do, I think Nigel called it like the London Bridge or something like that. I forget what Oiwa calls it.
I don't know what Oiwa calls it, but I'm telling you, man, number one, first off, I was shocked he actually won the match with that because I don't think I've ever seen, except for like maybe against like lower tier guys on like road twos. I don't, in like tag matches, I don't think he's beaten anybody significant with that move ever. It's always just kind of been a setup move.
Yeah.
And so to see him get the win against a bigger name like Oleg there was surprising.
Here we go. He calls it the Arc Clutch.
Okay, the Arc Clutch. I have a variant of this move. I've been thinking this in my mind since I first saw it, but that Arc Clutch, there's a way that I would do it that's very different, but similar, same setup. But if I get back in the ring ever, I'm going to do this shit. And it's going to be much better and cooler than what he does and the Arc Clutch itself is pretty cool, but like, I'm like, I've got a way to fucking do this that I've never seen anyone else do. And it's right there and I want to do it. But I felt like the crowd was super into both Oiwa and Oleg. And that was one thing where in the Discord, people mentioned that they were like, where was the fan support for them? It didn't feel like it came through. And I was a little surprised by that.
No, I felt like the crowd was definitely into the match. It probably wasn't as hot as some of the other matches, but I think they were definitely into Boltin and Oiwa. Definitely a lot of claps throughout the match. So yeah, I thought the energy was there. And I loved on commentary, Charlton was saying it felt like Oiwa had a game plan and Boltin did it. Like Boltin was just kind of reacting to what was happening to him versus like Oiwa was like, all right, I know that I'm targeting the arm. I'm going to mess this man up, throw his arm into the ring post, get him in that Arc Clutch and tap him out. And so, yeah, he worked that plan to perfection and got the big win there.
Yeah, I did make the joke in the car where I was like, we all thought that this was an elevation match, right? It's the semi-main event. But I'm like, the real semi-main event was Uemura and Callum. And this was the
cool down.
The cool down spot. This was the Divas match, the Divas tag team match.
Yeah,
we're working the States. We got to do a lower card in between.
Cool them down. Yeah.
Cool them down.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm glad that they got that position, but I feel like Newman and Uemura probably would have been a better semi-main event just based off the match quality.
It felt like that really was the semi-main event, honestly.
Yeah.
This didn't feel like we're presenting 2 new elevated guys. Even though the crowd was into them, it just didn't come off that way.
Yeah. And Oiwa, new gear and new music as well here.
I didn't notice. I'm not really necessarily a gear and music guy, though.
Well, yeah, his music has been getting a lot of conversation online because I guess there's like some like broken English and people are like, oh, did they just like AI generate this song? And so there's a lot of debate on whether his song is AI generated or not.
They might have. So what? People are not going to like that.
Yeah. And we had a question from Boston Crab.
In fact, we're AI.
Question from Boston Crab Rangoon. Would you trust Roy Oiwa as your beer pong partner after he made his entrance with the Pit Vipers on night one?
I don't know who the Pit Vipers are. I've only played like beer pong like once or twice. Like, this is not a question for my demographic.
I think the Pit Vipers were like the sunglasses he was wearing on the entrance.
We were kind of far up, bro.
But yeah, he definitely had some frat boy energy with the jacket, the sunglasses, the mullet. I feel like he would be a good beer pong partner. So that's going to take us now to the main event of the evening from the A Block rematch from Wrestle Kingdom 20, which we were both there live for. And once again, the Gene Blast, the IWGP Heavyweight Champion Yota Tsuji, defeats the Alpha, the NJPW World TV Champion Konosuke Takeshita, in 20 minutes and 52 seconds in a fantastic matchup.
The actual action, we already talked a little bit about it earlier. It was out of this world. And this, you could, I listened to One Nation Radio this weekend. Rich was talking about how like live in the building, you could feel like the energy shifted for the Kenny versus MJF match. And that was 100% what happened here. We'll say this earlier. I said that, Zach has like the least poppable music. I have to take that back. This music that Tsuji comes out to is
horrible.
It is unpoppable. Okay. Doesn't matter how much you like the guy. And it's funny because it's like, when I said that, like, we were there with Chris and he was like, I like it. It's a strong, it's not a bad song. Like, I think when people hear me say like that, this is bad, they misconstrue it. They think I'm saying that the song itself has no merit. That's not the case. As a pro wrestling entrance song, you want something that people can react to. There is no way to react to this to show your support of the guy. And it's not good, especially as the ace and face of the company.
Yeah, it feels like a good like VTR song, promo package song, not something you come out to for a big matchup.
Yeah, so he basically got no pop, and then Takeshita got one of the biggest pops of the night. But it was very clear that the crowd was, I mean, when Tsuji first came out before the music started, they were already going crazy. Then the song started, and everyone's like, what the fuck is this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
But you could feel the energy certainly shift. And I'm up there, I'm watching the show with Floyd Johnson of All Things Elite. What's up, Floyd? And Floyd is one of the biggest like Takeshita fans in the world. And he talked about like he's seen him wrestle in 3 countries now. I don't even know what 3. I'm assuming he's talking about Canada, probably. So it's like
maybe UK, because Floyd has been to Wembley twice, I think.
Oh, okay. So I think he's seen him lose in major situations in the US, the UK, and in Japan at this point. So he was like, this is it. Like, finally, we're going to see this dude, redeem himself. And, Wrestling Logic normally would say, like, Tsuji beat him in the Tokyo Dome. These are 2 high-profile stars, so Takeshita's probably going to beat him in the G1. And I was sort of thinking that was probably the most likely case, too.
Same.
But then as the day went on, I started giving more thought about it, and my whole entire, like, mood about it just started shifting, because I was like, well, Takeshita did just drop that title like this week to Kyle Fletcher on TV. And then I started thinking about it some more, and I'm like, man, Tsuji is like the ace he's the world champion and the ace of your company. Do you want him losing to an AEW guy? At the end of the day, as much as he is part of the roster, he's still viewed as like not a full-fledged like roster member. It's like, do you want him to lose to a North American talent per se, on in the main event of your show for the G1, like that doesn't feel right to me, in terms of presenting the product.
Yeah, Samson made that point last week. He was like, yeah, do you want to close your New Japan show with the AEW guy cutting a promo, or you want...
That's what did it for me. It was like, we were sitting there, and then the match was about to start, and then I was like, I had already started to kind of flip and think like Tsuji might, because I was telling people around me, I'm like, this one's gonna be tougher to call than probably people think. And like Floyd's like, no, it's not. And then I remember looking over him. I'm like, if he wins, how's he gonna do a promo? And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, the winner of every New Japan show they send the fans home with a go home promo. I'm like, Takeshi's not gonna do a go home promo tonight. I was like, bro, he's losing. And he was like, bro, if Takeshita loses again to the same guy, he's like, I'm walking out of this fucking suite. And then, I'll let you talk a little bit more about the energy, the match. I mean, the crowd was just so energized, but they were so in favor of Takeshita. The biggest, I would say the biggest part of the match was when they're standing on the top ropes. We were so scared, bro. And we're like, what are they fucking going to do? And I thought they were going to try a reverse, what's it called?
Poison Rana?
No, I thought they were doing a reverse Spanish fly.
Oh yeah. I thought yeah.
And they didn't, but it was really, really, really scary.
I thought that he was going, I think Tokyo Dome did the top rope, Blue Thunder. I thought he was trying to go for that again, but yeah, they went just to the.
But they were like off to the side on the ropes this time, so I couldn't tell what it was going to be. It was really scary.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a big back suplex there, but yeah, the energy set like this was like your two big main event stars. Yeah, crowd was great, and then these guys have an incredible chemistry. So that spot was great. You had Takeshita countering a Gene Blast with a big striking knee to Tsuji's head. Tsuji going for the Marlowe Crash, Takeshita going for the Raging Fire. So a lot of great back and forth counters. Tsuji doing Suicide Dive. Takeshita did his big Tope con Hilo.
That Tope was so like, bro. There were so many things that Takeshita was doing where we would just look around and we were in awe. We're just like, bro, he's fucking like. That was one of the best performances of his that I've ever seen live. Where I'm just like, he's on tonight. He's always great. But he was just like on fire, dude.
Yeah, the wheelbarrow German suplex and the Blue Thunder is always great.
Bro, the how high he got Tsuji up for that wheelbarrow, like where he goes after the bastard driver and then he goes back up. He flung him so fucking high. I was like, that's like a crazy bump. And then there's one point where they're doing the forearm exchanges and like he's killing Tsuji, and Floyd is talking so much shit. He's next to me. He's like, you thought you could trade with Takeshita? You thought you could stand and strike with the.
But dude, Tsuji, those chops to the chest. Oh my,
yes,
dude. Though I like verbally like yell out every time Tsuji would hit that man because they were so loud.
Have you ever seen the like GIF of Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier where they're like reacting to that knockout and they're like,
yes, yeah,
bro. We were like we're like all like sitting there and we're like shh. And then he hits it. And oh my god!
Yeah, he lit that man up. And you had your fighting spirit spots, or Tsuji hits a Gene Blast and a running knee. Takeshita kicked out at 1, and then Tsuji ends up hitting a second Gene Blaster, and then he did that new the fire. I think it's like the Fire Blast or something like that, like the new version of the Gene Blast he did on Newman to get the win. Yeah, the Fire Blaster, he did that to get the win.
One thing you were talking about fighting spirit spots. I do want to say this. I liked the Callum and Uemura match, but there's one point where Callum hit like a fighting spirit spot and then fell back down and the crowd went crazy. And I was like, you don't get to have fucking Tokon, dude. You're a heel. Like, what are you doing? And then, you know, people around me were like, he's not fully heel. He's like quasi. I'm like, he's a fucking cheater, bro.
Yeah.
You can't, you don't get to have fighting spirit. What are you doing? But when Suji started hitting the Gene Blasts, and because he hit 2 of them, and the first one got kicked out of, I started pacing. Like I was pacing because the way that the suite is set up, it's like you have the seats, but then behind it, there's like a big area with like the drinks and everything. And I was pacing back and forth because I'm like, oh, fuck, he's gonna.
I think he ended up hitting 3. I think there was like a short range one in the middle of the match, and then there was 2 towards the end. And then he did the fire blaster afterwards.
Yeah, when he hit the first full one, which was really the second one of the match, and he kicked out, I'm like, oh, he hit 2 in this match and didn't win. That's it. I was like, God damn it. Like, Takeshita's about to come back and beat this guy. I was wrong. And when he was able to, like, get up and hit another Gene Blast, and then when he hit the fire, the only thing I will say is the Fire Blast isn't getting for this live audience, it didn't get the reaction of recognition where people, I'm not saying the move's bad. It didn't look great in the Callum match when he won the title. I thought he hit it cleaner here and it made more sense as a workable move, but it didn't get the pop that you would think it would because the fans still probably haven't identified it as his new finisher. Mm-hmm. But I did. So I'm in the suite and he hits the Fire Blast and I was like, he fucking won. He fucking won. And no one else thought he won. Like the whole, like I'm talking about like even the, cause the audience, the sections beneath us, they're right by us and they were not responding. And I was like, he won. I'm like, it's over, bro. It's over. And literally next to me, Floyd's like, there's no way. And I'm like, no, that's it. I'm like, bro, that's his.
That's a super finisher.
That's a super finisher. And when the mat hit the 3, Floyd just got up, bro. He pulled a James Boyd. He just got up. He just got up and grabbed his things. He walked out, dude.
Oh my God.
Now, granted, he came back. It was like for dramatic, but like we thought he left. And like everyone's like, all right, I guess he just left with us saying goodbye. Like,
oh man.
And bro, we were high-fiving. Everyone's like, hell yeah, bro. Like, and they teased the Boston Crab spot again.
Yes, yeah.
There's so much good shit. That match was fantastic, dude.
Incredible. Yeah, it's too low on cage match. It's like an 8 something. Like, no, this needs to be like 9 and higher.
I was shocked. I was shocked. I was like, there's no way it's not above a 9, period. You know, where you take it from there, that's your own like speed. But I thought it could be better than the Wrestle Kingdom match. And I thought the Wrestle Kingdom match was, in terms of the pure wrestling, I thought it was better than Okada Tanahashi in terms of the actual wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
And it feels like that match has been forgotten at this point. Like no one talks about it.
Yeah. I thought that match, that's like one of my match of the year contenders. And now this one is too.
Bro, this is one of the best New Japan matches of the year. I'm so shocked, but I was so glad to be there, bro. I felt bad that you weren't there. I was like, bro, Jeremy missed an incredible match. Yeah, just blow away.
Yeah, so great stuff there, and Suji cuts the closing match promo in English. So yeah, great way to send home your New Japan fans with the IWGP champion closing out the night. So yeah, overall, yeah, awesome show here. Question from Jay Andrews 29.
One quick thing. I just remembered this. I don't want to forget it. So we've been to quite a few Chicago shows. You know, we've been to Chicago so many times, and I didn't know this, but weed is legal there. Did you know?
I think somebody posted in Discord that it was, yeah.
Okay. So I'd never and I didn't do any weed when I was there. And I never have any of the other times that we've been there, but I guess it has been for like a long time, which makes sense because every time we're at a Chicago show, there's always puffs going up everywhere, like all over the building. But I didn't realize it was like recreational there. Some dudes right in front of us decided to just start like smoking a J, like for real, in the building. And no one did shit about it. and I'm not complaining about it, but the reason I wanted to remember is because they waited specifically until Yuto Ice came out and started and the Get High chant started.
Yeah, let's get high.
As soon as the Let's Get High chant started, clouds started going up, and I was like, hell yeah, bro. Like that. It was so funny.
So a question from J Andrews 29. As an AEW fan and an NJPW fan, love me some Takeshita, and even after last night's main event, I just think that Tsuji is overhyped. In long term, I honestly see him having a Sonata type trajectory. What match of Tsuji should I watch on NJPW World to change my mind?
Well, I mean, I don't know if this will change your mind, because if you are more inclined as an AEW fan, you might just see it as a carry job, but the Will Ospreay match has to be mentioned. It's really fucking fantastic.
Yeah, then also the Gabe Kidd match from New Beginning in Osaka last year.
You could take any three of those, really, but the first one in Osaka, that's the best one. I think the Sonata match when he made his debut, is really underrated. And that match, I recommended it to several people that thought it fucked hard. So,
yeah. Then
also, there was one the Goto match where he won the New Japan Cup.
Yes, yeah. That match rocked as well.
And every match he had with Jeff Cobb was really good, but there's one in particular. I want to say it's probably from that same New Japan Cup, but there's one he had with Cobb that was like the first time where I was like, oh, okay, this guy, he's got something. So yeah, I personally can't see him having a Sonata trajectory because he's already way past where Sonata has ever been at the same stage of his career.
Yeah. Like Sonata was like going through multiple gimmicks at this age and multiple promotions and
yeah. I'm not saying that there's nothing to criticize about Tsuji and how he's been used or where he's at. There's a lot to criticize, but like we're talking apples and oranges when you're trying to compare him to Sonata. I don't think it's a apt comparison. I think a better comparison would be like trying to compare him to the Musketeers of yesteryear. And I think he's probably closer to like where Nakamura might have been early on when they were trying to push Nakamura as champion. And it was like, will he or won't he? That's where we're at with Tsuji. It's like, will he or won't he, you know?
Yeah. Next question's from Stay With Gas. Who seemed to be the most over with the crowd based on reactions?
Takeshita.
Yeah, it's definitely Takeshita.
But what I want to say about Tsuji, and I think this is pretty incredible. Tsuji, the match was so fantastic and Tsuji was so good that he was able to turn the vast majority of the crowd, which were in love with Takeshita, so that by the time he won, they were with him. Yes. And he didn't do it alone. Takeshita helped him to do it. But like, I don't know if any of those other guys could have done that night.
Right. Yeah. Then they asked for a best and worst match of the night.
That's a tough one. I mean, for me, I think I would probably still go Yuto Ice and Okan, even though it closed really well. The stuff leading up to it was just so bad that I wasn't into it. I do think that they did a top rope superplex that was like nearly perfect though, and it was pretty crazy. Or someone did that, and I don't remember. But if it wasn't that match, then it probably would be Shingo and Jake Lee. But we're talking about two matches that were like still well above 3 stars. So we're talking about a floor where nothing was worse than good to very good.
Yeah, for me, I have Oscar and Arita as the worst match of the night.
And I could see that one too. For being in the audience, I think the crowd was higher on that one throughout than the other two. And then, but I could see why people might not like that one.
Yeah, then obviously best match, Tsuji and Takeshita. And then he said, who had the best individual performance out of Umino, Tsuji, Oiwa, and Yuya?
Out of Umino, Tsuji,
Oiwa, and Yuya.
Suji easily.
Yeah, I'd go Suji.
Like, I don't think it was close, really.
Yeah. Wukong 901, who do you guys have for your final four?
Honestly, man, the fact that I've taken the time off that I have, it's not really allowed me to sit down and analyze the tournament. As of now, I don't have a final. You know, for me, I was completely for 6 months, I was all in on Shota Umino's winning this thing, and now I don't know. So, and because I didn't do a bracket this year, I'm not sold on a final four yet. Maybe by next week, I'll work out some math. I know it's not like an official bracket, but I don't know who I have going into the finals as of right now.
Yeah, so the bracket that I entered, the semifinals, I have Takeshita versus Wolf and Umino versus Bolton as my final four with a Takeshita Umino finals. But my bracket was based on Takeshita winning this opening night because I had a three-way 12-point tie between Takeshita, Tsuji, and Bolton, and having this tiebreaker of Takeshita beating Tsuji, knocking Tsuji out. But so that changes my whole bracket. So I don't know if Takeshi is still going to end up being played towards the end.
I haven't looked at the Sport of Pro Wrestling results, but I know that, like you said, they got close to 600, maybe over 600 by it was all said and done. I don't know. But I know Chris got like a lot of last minute brackets that came in like in the last like 20 minutes. And he's like, I got this many, this guy, this many, this guy, this many, this, like they were all over the place. And he's like, this is like the widest range of like predictions. And then going into the main, I don't know where everyone's at right now, but going into the main event, I think he told me something like there's only 12 or 13 perfect brackets still remaining by the main event. And I was like, yeah, this feels like a very unpredictable. You know, I know we say things are unpredictable, but I mean it in the most literal sense. Like this is a very difficult tournament to predict this year.
Yeah.
And I think it's played out just showing where the results of people's predictions already are at.
Yeah. Next question from Def Triangle 720. With a lot of the themes changes we've had this year, which one do you think best fits the talent and their presentation?
I'm not. Are we talking about theme songs or
yeah?
what?
I think I mean theme songs. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even. Who's had new theme songs this year? I don't know.
Well, we had a bunch just on this night.
And I didn't even realize until you said them live on the show that there were any. So that tells you like how much I pay attention to this. The only one that stands out to me that I know of that might be good that people like is like people really like Make Way.
Yeah, I think, Newman's theme, I think rocks, and that totally fits his presentation. From this night, I feel like Yuto Ice's new theme works really well for him.
I didn't even notice it wasn't the KOB theme. I do suspect, I don't want to be like malicious, but I suspect that Make Way theme is AI. I really do.
A lot of people think that's AI too, yeah.
It might not be, but it sounds fucking AI to me, bro.
I don't care. It's a banger to me. Def Triangle 720 says, between Oscar and Yuto, which one impressed you in their first G1 singles match?
They both impressed me.
Yeah, I thought they were both good. I feel like Yuto had a little bit more shine because Oscar had to do a lot of selling on the leg and being chopped down. But yeah, I thought they did both did good in their first G1 matches. Next up, NJPW Young Lion says, what will it take for Rei Oiwa and Yuya Uemura to get a push like Shota Umino?
They need to make sure that their dad is working in the office.
Tell their dad to become referees.
I was in a really cool coffee shop on Saturday morning called Wormhole Coffee. And, Chris is been a long time, like a member of like the coffee scene. He's worked as barista. I think a barista. I don't know. Actually, I don't even know that much about what he's done, but I know he's worked in it. But
yeah, I think I'm pretty sure he was a barista. Yeah.
Well, I know he was a barista, but I think he's done other things that are like even higher up. So I don't want to just simply say, oh, he's a barista when he's like I don't know, like a purveyor or buyer or some shit like that. So it's like he's worked for a lot of coffee companies in the Chicago area. And when I told him I went to Wormhole, he's like, oh yeah. He's like, that's like one of the most like legendary places because it's one of the last standout independent like coffee. There used to be a lot of independent coffee places and everything's been getting bought up by corporations and shit. He's like, they're like one of the last ones. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, yeah, I didn't know that. I wasn't like seeking, I just found my way there. But inside they have all this really cool pop culture shit. Like it's totally my vibe. And at the top of the just over where the bathrooms are above it, they've got a fucking DeLorean like from Back to the Future. And if these guys were trying to get the push that Shota Umino gets, that's what they need. They need to find Doc Brown. They need to go down to Wormhole, devise a plan, like the movie Roof Man, come in after hours and get that fucking DeLorean, make sure it's in working shape, get Doc Brown, get that shit up to, I don't know, I think it was 88.
Get Kushida.
Yeah, get Kushida. Find Taguchi, make sure he's got the Doc Brown get up. Couldn't hurt to pick up maybe Alex Shelley or Kevin Knight, whatever you got to do there.
Yeah.
But get the gang together. Make sure you get that. I forget what speed they got to get up to, like 75, 88, and go back into the past and find a way to convince your father to become a referee in All Japan Pro Wrestling and eventually find his way over to New Japan and lobby for you to get the push that you need, because that's the only way that shit's ever going to happen.
Or they can go back in time and stop Red Shoes from becoming a referee altogether. Yeah,
but if you've watched those movies, Jeremy, there's a butterfly effect. It doesn't always work out.
So that's, I mean, I feel like Yuya's been getting pushed. I mean, he was in the finals of the New Japan Cup, and it's probably going to do pretty good in this G1.
Yeah. He might win. I mean, for a lot of people, he's their favorite.
Yeah. Next question from Do Razmataz 2969 says, can't wait for the review. Any chance you could talk about how the booking compares to past G1s and whether the new generation of talent is starting to feel like they can carry the tournament?
Well, we're only one night in, so it's hard to say what the booking is like. There were some like questionable decisions on the evening, but it's the G1 Climax. So again, you always expect some surprises on the first night. You always expect, for there to be situations where people that you don't think should be winning or should be losing, that takes place. So that's not out of the ordinary whatsoever. The second night is coming up this Saturday, so we've got quite a bit of time between the first two nights of the tournament, and that basically means a lot of people are going to have time to rest up, but also we don't know what patterns are going to be taking place, over the course of this week.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we kind of see the seeds of a few potential stories that could be playing out. And if you know what Gato's like tendencies tend to be, I think some of them will continue to bear themselves out just like they always have. I'm not expecting far wide swings or anything like that. As far as like the young generation, though, I think we already talked about it. With the profile that he carries, Aaron Wolf is probably in my mind the biggest like question mark and person to kind of keep an eye out for. And then in terms of like, can they carry a tournament like this? Well, it's not really a question of can they or should they or will they. There is no choice. Look at the blocks. It is literally like scattered with young Reiwa talent.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first time. I mean, we're going on how many years now, Jeremy, of like, what was that tournament where there was the 4 blocks and,
was that
and Tangaloa
34?
And,
I think
Tonga.
that was 2 years ago.
Yeah. So this is like maybe it was 2023. I don't even remember at this point, but we're like in the 3rd or fourth year at this point of young talent already being involved in the tournament. And now with all of the exoduses and, retirements, the tournament is just filled with young guys. So there really isn't a question of whether they can, will, or should. That's the reality that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, it's definitely elevated from that tournament you mentioned where all the young guys are stuck in the A block and they didn't trust them to mix it up with the veteran guys. But now, they are essentially they're the core of the roster. And if night one is a sign of anything, I think, they have the skills to have great G1 shows and great matches.
I think I called him, I was mentioning Hikuleo earlier when I was talking about Giants. And I think I called him Tangaloa earlier on the show. But, the biggest thing between the two blocks, though, the biggest difference just on its surface is that you have bigger stars in the A block, but you also have some guys that you don't necessarily want to see in the tournament in terms of, bell to bell, work rate quality that are also in that block. So, and then in the B block, it's lesser stars, but more quality hard hitters. And it feels more like strong style coded. And that's not too unlike what we've seen from Ghetto's booking in the past. So I think there's probably a great chance that B block will be overall more quality across the board, but there are bigger stars who have more top end experience in the A block. And you probably will expect the best matches in the tournament to take place in the A block, even if it's not night in and night out as consistent as B block is.
Yeah, I think A will definitely have the higher peaks, and we're kind of already seeing that with Suji and Takeshita, where B, that the average of B might end up being higher or more stable than the average of A. Next from MJ says a lot of people had new gear, new music. I'm very much into Wolf's Fit. Whose new shit gleams the brightest?
Yeah, that was actually 2023 is what it's looking like. Was that G1 Climax? So basically 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What did he say? Who gleams the brightest?
Yeah, out of all the new gear.
I thought people had new cool gear. I didn't think that there was anything that was wildly different. I mean, obviously the biggest upgrade for anybody is Aaron Wolf. I didn't get a chance to see the Wolf logo, and I was like, is that a cutesy wolf or is that a vicious wolf? It's hard. I couldn't tell.
It's the one that they use on his shirt, on the Wolf Time shirt. It's the same kind of vicious looking wolf.
Bro, I saw that shirt one time and it's gone into the back of my brain. I did see people wearing the wolf headband, which is kind of cutesy. So I'm like, I don't know. Are they doing cutesy shit with it? I don't know. But yeah, I didn't see it. So I don't know what type of wolf that actually is.
Yeah, I mean, as far as who's gleamed the brightest, I mean, technically Sonata was the...
I was gonna say Sonata. but we already kind of saw Sonata's red variant, the gold variant. I liked Uemura. It's very subtle, but I thought Uemura had clean gear, but he's still coming out in the fucking Elvis cape, so...
Yeah, I thought Yuto Ice with the all-white, that was a nice icy looking look.
But haven't they worn all white before?
I don't think so.
No, maybe I'm just maybe in my mind I'm just conflating it with Bishamon because it wasn't that different from Bishamon, you know?
Yeah. Or you might be thinking because Taichi wore all white when he wrestled Ice in the play-in match.
No, I wasn't thinking of that. I was thinking about that maybe when they've defended the titles before that him and Oscar have worn all white before, but
gotcha.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so. And MJ also said that after one night, have you changed your mind on who you think is making it to the semifinals?
I will say this. Him wearing all white did not scream to me Shawn Michaels' boyhood dream WrestleMania 12. It didn't come off like that. No, after this first night, nothing has really changed. I didn't think any of the results were that surprising, except for the fact that sometimes you expect Gato terrorism booking, and so you're thinking the worst scenarios might take place, and then the guys that you want to win are actually winning almost the entirety of the night. And that to me was surprising, but nothing took place here that made me think, oh, they're fucked, or, oh, this has ruined their tournament. Like, nothing like that has taken place yet.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm just a little bit leery on Takeshita because I feel like, either Takeshita or Tsuji has to get through, and so it might end up being Tsuji, and Takeshita might end up being out on a tiebreaker or just only getting, 10 points.
I know I haven't done the deep dive research into the A block you have, but I don't think that that's necessarily the case. The idea that Tsuji or Takeshita have to get through. I think they've got enough people in there to where, for instance, like, I know it's not the same situation, but like in the past, we've seen situations where like Okada and Tanahashi were in blocks and canceled each other out and everyone thought they're going to get through and they just didn't get through.
Mm-hmm.
I could see something like that happening here where they're both, like you've already mentioned, these multiple way ties. I could see them getting multiple way tied and not going through to the playoffs and then opening it up for other people in the A block entirely.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Next question from Doc. He says, what did you guys eat post-show?
I don't think I ate anything post-show. I ate, the barbecue, by the way, was excellent. Kudos to Megan and his family on, hosting everybody. The stories of the much lauded barbecue grilling skills of Chris, they hold to be true. So that's great. And then when I was in the building, I was eating a lot because I was hungry still. But the show, nice thing about the show, smooth 3 hours, bro. Like clockwork, like that. We were in and out, but still it's all the way out in Schaumburg. So it was like 30 minutes to Sam's house. And I took Andrew Rich with me back to the city and dropped, like, it was like 12:31 by the time I got home. So I don't think I ate anything afterwards.
Yeah. Then last question from Siamese Twin Cobra. Are press conferences just no longer subtitled?
Yeah, apparently. Like that, if you really want to, there was once upon a time where it was like before they were like subtitling them, you used to be able to go to YouTube and turn on the auto translate.
Yeah.
And it used to be pretty good actually, but it's not anymore. Like I've tried it many different ways and different times and it just sucks. And I wouldn't use it at all. Your best bet if you want to have translations is just pull up the actual, and I know that this is not ideal. It does fucking suck, but pull up the press conference and at the same time, maybe on your phone, pull up the actual, the interview section, like from the news that Charlton and his team have done. And it will provide you with the bullet points and actually pretty extensive, what's it called? Like blurbs and quotes and translations of what took place. And that's the best way where you can literally like see what the guys are saying in the interview, but also watch it. That's what I've had to do in the past. But
yeah, and sometimes they'll do like a Twitter thread of the translations of what they're saying to you.
Yeah, he's done that before as well. So that's also a resource. But they used to actually translate those press conferences. And I don't know, maybe they just felt like not enough people were watching them, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I was.
So, like you mentioned, we got 2 nights of G1 coming up this weekend. So, we got a double shot at the Hokkaido Prefectural Sports Center. So, on night 2 will be Saturday, July 18th. So, we'll have some preview tags, and then we'll have some G1 action. We'll have a B block matchup with Drilla Maloney versus Gabe Kidd. And then the rest will be A block: Sonata versus Great Okan, Jake Lee versus Konosuke Takeshita, Yuto Ice versus Bolton Oleg, Shingo Takagi versus Roy Oiwa, and Hiroki Goto versus Yota Tsuji.
I mean, not only are you getting the 5 A block matches, but like you mentioned, a little bit added value for their money because they're getting the B block match. That's another thing too. That probably, I mean, the belief with a lot of people is that Drilla and Gabe was probably going to be the semi-main event.
Yeah.
Which also calls into question, like I mentioned in our Discord that I felt like not having Gabe on the show was not that it like killed the show or anything like that. I'm not trying to say this guy's Stone Cold Steve Austin, but in the States with a fan base that clearly watches AEW and also watches New Japan and likes Western stars, I felt like had Gabe been on the show, it probably would have helped the ticket sales. To what extent, I don't know. I can't sit here and say he would have sold an extra 1,000, nothing like that. But I do think it would have been a benefit. And I remember being in our Discord and getting shouted down about that, being like, he's literally like nothing. Like he doesn't make a difference one way or the other whatsoever. Like basically the feeling was it would be nice from a match quality standpoint, but doesn't do anything for the bottom line. And after having gone to that show and looking back on it in hindsight, where I'm pretty confident, and this is what we basically heard, was this was going to be the semi-main event. So someone somewhere, especially with him probably being global champion at the time, thought that he was going to be a difference maker to some extent. I feel kind of vindicated because I do think that the fan base there in Chicago, that they were counting on a guy that is on national television and employed by Tony Khan to sell some tickets.
Yeah, and Gabe, if he was on the show, he would do media. He would have booked his own media dates, and he would have did some stuff to get.
In fact, I didn't talk to a lot of people in Chicago about wrestling, but I met 3 wrestling fans that were there. People, you're out and about. People are like, "Hey, why are you in town?" Blah blah blah. And I just happened to meet 3 different people that were wrestling, like not casual wrestling fans, like active wrestling fans, and they were all. That's another thing. If we're in Chicago, they were all AEW fans. Every single one of them was like, I used to watch WWE, but now I watch AEW. And when I told them I was in town for the G1, they didn't know what the fuck that was. And I was like, it's New Japan. And like only one of them kind of knew. And I was like, Forbidden Door. And all of them were like, oh, so it's like, there's people who like know what Forbidden Door is, but they still kind of don't really fucking get what New Japan even is in the first place. But I told them, I was like, yeah, a lot of the guys in AEW came from there. Every single one of them, bro. This is a true story. Every single one of them was like, oh, didn't like the Dogs and like Gabe just come over? They all knew that they just came over from the company. Mm-hmm. And these are just like casual AEW fans. You can't tell me that with Gabe being on the show that it wouldn't have sold some more tickets.
Yeah, I think definitely would have. Yeah.
But I'll leave it at that. Drilla and Gabe, that one is going to be very interesting because of the interfactional like connection there, but everything's very much in flux and transit, and Gabe and Drilla, the whole thing with the global title. So it's going to be interesting to see like what the vibe is between the two of them. Other than that, this is an interesting night because like Sonata and O'Connor are 2 of the guys that I don't look forward to seeing on most of the shows, but they're canceling each other out. So that's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Lee and Takeshita, that's a crapshoot, bro. And then the rest of the card though looks really fantastic. Oiwa Takagi, we've already that one's gonna be really, really good. Yuto Ice and Oleg Bolton, that's a hard hitting style match. And then Goto and Yota Tsuji, they've got a lot of history with one another. Mm-hmm. And there's this whole thing with Tsuji wanting to face former champions. Well, now we're going to kind of see where that goes. Hey, if Goto beats this guy, he might be like one of those, autumn challengers.
Yeah, but I think Tsuji's going to clean out all the former world champions. He's already beaten Takeshita. I think he's going to beat Goto. He's going to beat Sonata later on the block. I think he's going to clean out all the former champs. He
could, but then you have to ask who's going to potentially be challenging him later on, unless you are of the opinion that they're going to stick with the most recent tradition. But something just tells me that if Tsuji is champion, he's not going for that shit. He's going to be like, we're going to the dome, baby. That's it.
Yeah.
Another thing I do wonder though is I'm not saying that they need to put like some people be like, oh, this is over pushing Tsuji. and it probably would be. But the only times that they've ever had the IWGP champion win the tournament, it was all prior to the mandatory title shot in the Tokyo Dome. But now that that's sort of out the window, if you wanted to actually do it again, this is a time frame. It doesn't have to be with Tsuji now, but you could do it again and then still fulfill whatever title matches you wanted moving forward without having that albatross of the G1 winner has to get the title shot because it was the champion who won.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Some people might not like that, but they could go that way and it would be kind of unexpected.
Yeah. So then night 3, Sunday, July 19th, we'll have all B block action. So it'll be Shota Umino versus Aaron Wolf, Drilla Maloney versus Hanare, Gabe Kidd versus Oscar, Ren Narita versus Callum Newman. In the main event, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Yuya Uemura.
Yeah, this show looks better on paper just across the board. I think Umino and Aaron Wolf, it is interesting because Wolf, I think he's going to do well in the tournament, but he is still in that opener time like slot for a lot of the tournament, which kind of tells you they're probably going to keep it between like 9 to like 11, 14-ish minutes. So it's going to be interesting to see him and Umino and how that plays out.
Drilla and Hanare should rock.
Drilla Hanare is going to be really awesome. I don't know how I feel about Gabe and Oscar, but that I don't see any reason it wouldn't be good. The main event is the one that's probably the most intriguing for me. So it's, properly slotted. Callum and Ren is interesting because they're both cheaters and there is some like history there with House of Torture and UE, but they haven't been back around to that in quite a while. So we'll see how that one kind of plays itself out. But Ren Narita is he's the only shitter really that's in this block. And so that just makes it a lot more palatable across the board.
Yeah. Well, that's it for G1 preview. So when we come back next week, we'll review night 2 and night 3. Didn't have anything here on the news, and I need to wrap the show up here. So we'll push some of these other off-topic questions over to next week.
I agree. I'm glad to be back on the show, and I'm ready to watch Grade 1 Climax Pro Wrestling.
Yes, sir. So that's going to wrap it up. Next week, we'll be back to review Night 2 and Night 3 and cover all this news. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI StrongStyle. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI StrongStyle, at Social Suplex, at Jeremy L. Donovan, at YB_Russian Liger. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Reddit, on the Pro Black Guy, Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we're at Social Suplex. Join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy, at socialsuplex.com, and check out all those shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Wednesday Radio with Rich and James, All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, Imps AEW Adventure, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, the AEW Match Guide with Sir Sam Brown, Tall Talk with Ali and Leah, the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcasts, and Joshying Around with Tim and Eric. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
It's Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.